How y'all doing? How y'all feeling? Welcome into another edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. That's right, we are back for a special holiday edition of this great podcast that we do each and every week. I am joined today by Calvin Thomas. Justin Harris will be with us momentarily. Calvin, what's going on with you today?
Man, it's another day, a lovely day off. It's the first time we did one in the daytime when the sun is out. It feels
Man,
different. It feels
it
different.
does feel different. The background is well lit for you.
It feels a lot different.
Yeah,
Usually,
the
I'm
light
on, I'm
is
on my
shining a
third.
little differently.
I'm on my third drink, letting these takes flow. Now I'm reasonable this morning.
Well, we appreciate y'all tuning in today. We know it's an odd time. A lot of people off today. I'm going in later. On Fridays I go in on the PM. So I said, hey, let me know. Wednesday, Tuesday didn't work. Wednesday didn't work. We tried Thursday, but we said, do we got to get in another
Yeah,
episode of this great podcast? It had to happen this week.
I,
Too much
I
has
got
been going on.
I got some Knicks takes and some Giannis takes I need to let flow. I've been
Oh,
holding them in. I've been holding them in.
Yeah. We got a lot to cover. We appreciate you all taking the time. Again, Justin Harris will be with us momentarily. So we're gonna make sure that we save some of those Knicks conversations for when he joins us in a minute. But Calvin, how's your week been? What's been going on? I know you were
Man,
out bowling last night. How'd that go?
man, we had a lot going on last night. I don't know who has a kid's birthday party at 8 o'clock at night, but
Oh,
it is what it is. Summertime kids want to be kids, but it's been an okay week so far. Look, a great sports weekend coming up. A lot of baseball, getting some summer league action. For the basketball fans, kind of wrap up or begin the next NBA season. However you choose to look at it. Football's around the corner, you know, and sometimes my favorite time. So
yeah.
it's not a lot of sports, but sometimes still my favorite time. It's hot outside, but I love the summertime, so I ain't upset.
Well, while Justin isn't here, let's talk about a topic that's near and dear to our heart, and that is the Baltimore Ravens. A lot of talk has been happening, man. A lot of talk about how the Ravens right now looking like they're gearing up. Might possibly have the best roster in the entire league. A lot of people saying specifically the AFC because we know how wide open that AFC was last year. Kansas City is vulnerable. Buffalo is still growing in certain areas. They have Josh Allen, but other things. But the Ravens seem to be stacked at every level. They seem to have a player of note, Pro Bowl type caliber player on every level, in
Yeah,
every unit, in every room.
yeah.
And there's a lot of talk that the pressure now has shifted. Not that there wasn't pressure before on Coach Harbaugh, not that there wasn't pressure before on Lamar Jackson, but there is extreme pressure on this team to win now, especially before Lamar Jackson signs that next contract. Calvin, what's your updated thoughts on this team on the onset? We're going to go into detail when we do our season preview closer to the season after we see what happens in training camp and things of that nature. But what do you think about this team as currently constructed, and can they make a run at it?
Look, I don't think there should be any more pressure than there was 2 years ago when you were number one seed. You had the AFC Championship game at home, first time in Ravens history, or even last year when you were coming off that season. There should not be any more pressure. You've had the best team in the league, arguably 2 out of the last 3 years. 2 years ago, Chiefs at home, you had the best team in the league. You lose at home. So what more pressure can there be when you've already been the best team and lost? You know what you can, the ceiling, you know what you've gotten to recently. So why should there be any more pressure? You have arguably the best running back in the AFC, maybe in the league, if you want to depend on how you look at Saquon, the best quarterback in the league right now. Patrick Mahomes has done phenomenal things, but look at his last couple of years statistics wise.
Look at
You
the
already
stats.
have the best quarterback in the league who has made receivers, who made Rashad Bateman, who allows Zay Flowers to flourish. Mark Andrews, Isaiah, like we have all these weapons. Let's go to the defensive end. Best linebacker in the league, best safety in the league, best secondary in the league. You have all these weapons. The pressure should not be there because you know what you can do when everyone is healthy and everyone's already there. I don't look at it as pressure. I look at it as though you got to look in the mirror and say, look, we got to get over this hump. That hump being the Kansas City Chiefs. We got to get over this hump. That hump being the Buffalo Bills in the playoffs. That's all we got to do. We know what we have to do. The regular season does not matter to this team. If this team goes,
See,
if
this is
look,
where
no, if they go
you and I differ. Go ahead.
10-7. It only matters what you do in the playoffs, in my opinion. I know what I expect of Lamar Jackson. I expect another MVP type level year. That's not saying I want him to win the MVP. He should have won it last year. Don't get me started on that. But I'm expecting that type of season, especially with these weapons, especially when you add weapons. But it only matters to me what happens in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. I've seen this team go 14-3. I've seen this team start 2-2 and not lose another game regular season. I've seen all of that. You've been number one seed twice in the Lamar Jackson era. You've had home field advantage twice. You've been the favorite multiple times. So why does the regular season matter? Now, you have these new pieces. I need Jair to be healthy, so I need him to get the regular season. I need DeAndre Hopkins to fit into this offense seamlessly. I need that to happen in the regular season. But only the playoffs matter because, like I said, if this team goes 17-0, we will still talk about, well, they got to beat this team in the playoffs. They got to get through this team in the playoffs. Even that they have to come to Baltimore, where you have the home field advantage. So I don't think there should be pressure just to be like, look, we got to finish the job. And if you think that as pressure, then maybe you don't need to be here. But it should be just, this is what we need to do is finish the job. And that's not pressure. That's just saying we're better than them. Let's prove it on the field and let's just kill all the doubters.
I hear you.
Drinking milk?
What's going on, Justin? Keeping the body strong.
Protein shake, man.
But thanks for joining us on this great afternoon at 1:07 in the afternoon. But we appreciate the sentiment that you're lending there, Calvin. I truly understand where you're coming from. But why I say the regular season matters is because it does. We have put ourselves in a position where we had to go to Buffalo on last year in the cold, and that had an impact. The crowd has an impact on this team. Now, I know we lost 2 years ago at home against Kansas City, but again, you give yourself a better opportunity. And where was that game 2 years ago? That was the AFC Championship game. There's a difference between losing a divisional game on the road and the championship game at home. You got one game to get to the Super Bowl. Look, you need to win in the regular season and give yourself the best opportunity to carry home field all the way throughout. Again, we start out with a little Ravens, just giving Justin a little time to get on. But we got to get into some other topics. We got plenty to discuss today. And again, we appreciate you all joining us on a special edition on this Friday afternoon. But let's start with the NBA. The NBA, a lot has been happening. Free agency doesn't start until July 6th, but teams are able to negotiate, actually make like a lot of decisions ahead of time. So right now there are a lot of tentative deals that won't be signed to paper until I think that's Sunday or Monday. Sunday, yeah. So then those things can become official. But we've seen some moves. We've seen Kevin Durant get traded. We've seen some trades with some players, mid-level guys. I would say, me personally, this has been one of the most quiet, like low-ranking free agents we've seen in quite some time.
I blame CJ McCollum.
But we'll start with the news that came out this past week. The New York Knicks have found their head coach. This was breaking news the other day. Mike Brown, the Cleveland Cavaliers, former coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, former
Sacramento
Kings. He's been on the bench of many other teams. So he will now take over the helm as the New York Knicks head basketball coach. Now, I know right here, a few weeks ago, Justin Harris, our resident Knicks fan, an expert and insider, let us know that there was a head coach that he had believed would take over the team. I believe it was someone's father or something. You
absolutely not. But
what were you saying?
Johnny Bryant, those that no. Mike Brown was on the stratosphere like that. Nobody wanted Rick Brunson, so let's understand that. So there you go.
That's what it was. So Justin, let's hear your opinion. Let's hear your thoughts.
I want you to go last. I want to give
you Justin to wrap it up.
I want him to go last because I'm gonna give him something, and I think he gonna go at me, but I want him to go last. Pause.
Well, Calvin, you have experience with Mike Brown as the Lakers' former head coach. What is your thoughts on Mike Brown taking over the helm in New York?
Okay. If you watch the show, you know I was all for the team firing Thibodeau. I think Justin came on board late. But I said, look,
I was against it 100%.
I was on board for firing Thibodeau. I was not on board to fire Thibodeau to hire Mike Brown. I'm on board to fire Thibodeau, to hire Jason Kidd, to hire Ime Udoka, to even hire Billy Donovan. But the Knicks screwed this up so bad that you had to go to your 11th choice. At that point, you might as well rehire Thibodeau. How do you mess it up so bad that you don't even know if someone's going to be available to come? You have backroom channels. You have ways to get to this guy, and you screw it up so bad that you can't even get them. This is how perfect. This is how the Knicks are. How do you mess up this head coaching experience and get Mike Brown, who was not even a thought, who was not even on the list originally? How do you screw it up so bad? I was giving the Knicks props. I said, look, you're making the right move. You're getting aggressive. This team's not defensive first. It doesn't fit Thibodeau's what he wants to do. You go ahead and get an offensive coach. They screw it up so bad that they can go get Mike Brown, who was kicked to the side in Sacramento after 13 games. I had faith in the Knicks for a hot second. It's completely done. You mess up this head coaching hire. I don't think they're going to make any noise in the East. I don't think Mike Brown is capable of leading this team. They screwed it up. I don't know how you do that when you have everyone is clamoring for the Knicks to be great to get this Knicks head coaching job, and you screw it up so bad that when you can't even get your first choice, your second choice, your third choice, your fourth choice. What is Mike Brown? 10, 11th on the list?
Woo! Cook!
That's all I got. Like, look, y'all messed this up.
Well, I'll just quickly say I didn't believe they should have fired Tom Thibodeau. I stand by that. I still believe that there's something to winning as many games as he did in back-to-back seasons and bringing his team back, helping to bring this team back to prominence. You can give it to the roster. You can give credit to the general manager. You can give credit a lot of different directions. But the coach has something to do with that. And I'm the guy who didn't like when Milwaukee did it, when they had a winning formula. I didn't like it when Phoenix got rid of head coaches like Marty Williams and different guys who did certain things and they never found success again. I just think there's something to allowing a coach to cook, allowing him to get his feet under him and build something. I get it. Everybody, well, maybe you need another voice to take him over the hump. Go back and tell me, other than Steve Kerr, when we've seen that happen consistently. You can look at the Detroit Pistons, maybe with when they had that situation where you had Larry Brown and he wasn't able to get them, but that's far and few in between that actually happens. And far more teams that stick with their coach actually build a culture of winning that you can actually take that to the next level. Mike Brown rode the back of great players like LeBron James and still wasn't able to get it done. And I don't think this guy will be the guy to get you over the hump. Well, congratulations. You got a coach at least. You can say the search is over. Hopefully the players are enough to overcome it. Justin, your time.
Let me start off by saying this. It's been less than a month and they found a head coach. If you are trying to look for a coach for your franchise that's in a playoff position, that's in a championship position, you think less than 30 days will be due diligence enough to find a head coach? It should be. It should be.
It should be.
Less than 30 days. You had your time. Less than 30 days.
You asked the question.
They took, and that was enough time in order to find a head coach. There is nothing wrong with that. They didn't take 2 months. They didn't. If they would have did it within a week themselves. If they would have did it within a week, oh, it's too fast. Y'all did it too soon. You didn't even interview nobody. They took less than.
Hold up. Let me rebut that for 1 second. But the problem with your statement is, if you're going to fire a coach that has had success, you have someone you already think is there to replace him.
Yes.
You don't fire someone and then just that's the point. Searching in the dark. You have someone ready.
You have someone in mind,
even if it's someone within the organization who you think can take over the helm.
And it makes it even worse. You weren't competing with another team for a coach because there were no other coaching vacancies. So you had your guy.
Second thing.
That is the problem with that.
Second thing. Because they did their due diligence in finding Mike Brown. Is Mike Brown a bad coach? Well, let's go into his history. Are we going to hold LeBron James against him? No. We're going to say the greatness of LeBron James was better than the coaching of Mike Brown. Okay, I'll give you that. He went to LA. He had Kobe. Okay, give you that. Now, where did he actually coach basketball?
San Antonio.
He coached basketball. No, he was assistant. Sacramento was pretty much that was his thing. You had a couple guys there. You had maybe one budding superstar, and then that's pretty much all you really had in Sacramento. Sacramento was forgotten about. Sacramento was a desolate place with decent, okay guys. He transformed that team to have one of the best, if not the top-rated offense in the NBA. He made them a playoff team. Remember, we was like, how the hell Sacramento was in second place? How did they get there? It was his philosophy. It was his thing. Now, he challenged those guys to the point where they started to push back. Maybe he might not be here for 3 or 4 years. Maybe it might be 1 or 2. Maybe that's all we need. Maybe De'Aaron Fox and those cats that was over there, Malik Monk and stuff like that, maybe they was young enough and didn't realize the viewpoint that this guy was trying to bring. Hence, you have a whole veteran squad that we have here. Some of these guys, albeit collegiate, one of these guys won an NBA championship, a couple guys are a superstar, all-stars. We have a veteran squad, all about 30 years old. They understand basketball. They understand the concepts that he's making. He's going to bring up stuff. He's going to bring up stuff from the Greg Popovich tree. He's going to bring up stuff from the Steve Kerr tree. They're going to understand these concepts and they're going to play ball. In Sacramento, he was running. He's like, yo, we're not going to let other teams outpace us. Okay, you got a little bit of older squad. So what do you need to do? You need to utilize your bench in order to continue that similar philosophy. Cool. We have bench. We're getting guys. We're getting people. Can you develop some of the rookies that we had last year? Can you develop some of the 1 or 2 year guys that we had? Mike Brown? Sure, I can do that. I have no problem with doing that. They're going to see the court, and they're going to play basketball. If that was the understanding, and he said, okay, if that's what you want for me to do, I will do it. And every other coach that you thought was probably in line said, no, I'm going to do it my way. And I don't necessarily want to develop these guys or whatever the case may be. I don't know how these negotiations work. I wasn't there doing interviews, but I'm quite sure that question was asked. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough money at this point to go get high-level role players. Can you make the other guys work? Mike Brown, I got it. Don't worry about it. Cool. I got you. Well, if that's the case, and we went through everybody else, and he was the main person that had a plan for all these guys that was particularly on the team already, and what can he do to maximize the offense, and still, because he's a defensive coach, maintains defensive properties? Okay, cool. Can you make Cat play a little bit better defense? I understand. I had somebody similar. It's a bonus. I can make him work in similar situations. I can make him okay. He ain't going to be a superstar defensively, but I can make him better than what he is. Cool. Can you offensively make this thing go? I got you. Cool. This is what's happening. This is what he had to do. So if I had to go through 5 or 6 other people and they wasn't checking all the boxes, guess what? You keep going until you find someone to check all the boxes. That's what they did. Guess they probably had 1 or 2 people in mind. Once you got to the interview, once you got permission to interview certain people and they didn't necessarily get that permission, or they said, no, I don't check all these boxes, you find a person that did. And they found a person that did. I had 0 issues with Mike Brown. So that collectively said, 1, why he got fired, and 2, why he got hired, and why 2, Tibbs got fired. Because he wasn't going to develop the guys. We don't have enough people. We are going to run our players short. We're going to run them into the ground. Everybody in the world knew that. Tibbs doesn't care about that. So he has to get let go. It doesn't matter when it was. It wasn't going to sustain enough to win another series. Another series. Do you realize why we lost against Indiana? If you do not know, for those that don't know, quickly, we cannot handle a full court press defense. Let that sink in. An NBA team cannot beat a full court press defense. We gave up buckets from this. That's a problem.
Maybe you need a better ball handler. I mean,
he did not. No, you don't need to. You don't need to dog out the person that you had, because he just went through one of the Thompson boys against Detroit, 94 feet. He just went against Jaylen Brown, 94 feet. He maxed himself out with his energy. You need help. You need to develop guys that was already on the team. He did not want to do that. I'm sorry. Mikal Bridges said it. And sometime in January, you got guys that you need to play. And what he do? He started to play him. God damn, it was too late. It was too late for you to save your job because you should have been did it. He knew that. We all knew that. So he's fired. Mike Brown hired. Thank you, sir. Take us to the promised land.
I just find it.
You want to go? You want me to go first?
I just find it interesting.
No holes
Y'all were good enough to beat Boston, the defending champions, at full strength, playing that style of basketball. And y'all lost to Indiana, who proved to be a very good team, took the champions to 7 games in the finals. And that's what we judging him for? I think
it's
that
the
has
same
to
thing that
Indiana.
He had to fight his whole career. His whole career, he had to fight that.
But when you're in championship mode, they're going to face some opposition that, of course, is going to push back. And I think that even taking a step back, I don't think they needed to fire him when they fired him, especially if you didn't have someone that felt like you need to hurry up and go get right now.
So what? You could have waited this whole time and then go through the. What do you do? When should we have fired him?
How about evaluate?
If you had someone else in place,
and do your due
diligence.
Behind the scenes,
they went through the evaluation process.
They did. You know why they didn't? Because what Mike Brown accepted that no other coach would accept is that you don't have control over your assistant head coaches, because you have to accept Rick Brunson. You have to accept anyone that Dolan wants to put on the bench with you. There was no other coach. There's no other coach that they wanted to.
Took a pay cut in order for others to get paid, and one of those things was you got to kind of keep Rick around. Okay,
so I'm saying, to prove my point. So there's a head coach. You're right. Make him head coach.
He might not be head coach, but I want my dad to have a job.
There's a head coach that does not have control over his assistants on the bench. So therefore, the guys that I want, I can't bring because I'm stuck with these 4 or 5 guys, because you're not going to pay an additional 4.
And you take advantage of the black man who just happy to have a job, happy they just come along for the ride.
I guarantee you, Jason Kidd wasn't going to accept that. I guarantee you, Ime Udoka wasn't going to accept that. I guarantee you,
we didn't have a possibility to interview him. Can't tell.
I'm just saying.
No. See, I don't agree with that either. There were conversations to be had, because there's no reason you fire Thibodeau and in the next hour you hear about Jason Kidd being linked to New York. There were already conversations there. Something happened. Something happened, and something happened, and I'm going to say it was the fact he didn't have control of his assistants, because you could work out a deal. You already knew that he was upset about the whole Luka Doncic situation, so he already had a foot out the door. And then all of a sudden, he gets a contract extension. Udoka gets a contract extension. That's because they had conversations with the Knicks. So let's put 2 and 2 together.
It felt like they need to put some sweeten the deals a little bit.
Come on.
Okay, so other teams said, you know what? Before I lose my guy,
I agree with that.
Take this money.
I agree with that.
Well, they did what they supposed
my issue
to.
is the whole Mike Brown of it all. I think that you could have, like I say, I don't think the Knicks had a bad season. I really don't.
No, we did not have a bad season.
I don't think it's any shame in losing to Indiana.
Style of play
not now
sustainable for the finals,
but they were the favorites at the time.
After you beat Boston,
is it sustainable?
Yes.
After you beat Boston,
clearly was not, because we ran out of gas.
Well, we did. Y'all ran out of gas at the game 1. Y'all gave up 20 points.
You're proving my point. If we ran out of gas in the conference finals, then we would not. Even if we would have got past the series, we would have been flat on our faces for the finals.
Okay, but y'all wouldn't have been favored to beat Oklahoma City.
So I really want to look at these minutes. I want a minute analysis.
It's not necessarily the minute analysis. It's the fact that you have other players, and you did not wait until game 3 is when they really got the bench players really got time. And then we won that game, and then, hey, it was somewhat of a series after that. It wasn't until game 3 he did that.
That's get that, problem. But if you look at any great team, look at the Nuggets. How many minutes you think Jokic playing? How many minutes you think that the best players on your teams are going to play? They're going to average 36, 37, 38, sometimes 40 minutes a game if that's what it requires. And I think the coach.
What I'm saying, you just saw a finals where both teams went 9 deep in their bench.
But for how long? Like some of that was like a spell, not really like long.
Sometimes that's all you need. But
the Knicks wasn't running everybody out there for 48.
That's almost 2 players per position.
I get it, but I think this has been overstated. And again, I'm not beating up your theory that Tibbs could have used more of his bench. I'm not against that, but that's something you talk about in off season. Maybe you don't stay your bench.
That conversation before.
You should have kept some of the depth that you had that made you have more firepower.
You don't think they had that conversation in the off season?
Well, who are these players that you really thought that played enough?
Who are these players? Exactly. You're literally.
I'm asking you as a Knicks fan.
The fact that you don't know is a problem. You know them little white boys that came out the bench for Indiana. You know them. You know the McConnell and all that.
That's because you can't count on your point guard to play no big time.
That's why. You're proving my point. You don't know because he don't develop them. He don't.
Well, he's gone now, and we'll see what Mike Brown is able to do. Again, no knock on Mike. Yeah, it is. It's not.
Yeah, it is.
He's never won nothing. But congrats to him for getting the job. I would never knock a black man for getting you a job. Hold on to it. Hopefully, you has great success, or you will be the GOAT and the person, the people who will blame next, and you'll get all the eye of the New York media. You know they ready with pitchforks, man. So get ready. You're gonna be the scapegoat if the thing falls off the tracks. If y'all don't win next year with the East the way it is, with people falling off, with Boston the way it is,
y'all make the conference finals next year.
You should talk about some players fall off. Some teams got better.
Well, we'll see. Did y'all better get better. That's what I'm saying. Y'all better get better.
We did get better.
All right. So there you go.
How'd y'all get better by Mike Brown
or bust?
The coach just going to develop everybody off the bench, and 2, Jordan Clarkson was probably one of the best signings in this offseason so far.
Offensive first guard. Okay.
What was our problem? I literally said what our problem was, right? Okay. Y'all listen in. I said we couldn't break a full court press.
Part of y'all problem is y'all can't do interpassing Captain Post. We don't talk about
full court press by himself.
Can't make the 3-point line. That's your problem.
That's the offense.
Mike Brown is an offensive-minded coach. That's what I thought
he was a defensive-minded coach.
That's what I said. He said he was running in Sacramento.
He has high defensive principles. However, when he needs to go offense, like he's shown in Sacramento that had the number 1 offense, he can do that as well. He covers a lot of bases.
Did he have the number 1 offense because of his coaching principles, or because of he's from the Steve Kerr tree? It just happened to have those players. He's Sacramento.
He had those players in Sacramento. He had
Greg Popovich.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Sacramento was trash before he got there. What are you talking about? No one cared about Sacramento.
He did get better players too, though.
He got Sabonis. He developed Fox. You want to make that argument? He had.
Were they not there before he got there?
Wasn't Sabonis there the year? Didn't Sabonis come the year before during trade deadline for Halliburton?
The year before.
The year before Brown got there, yes.
Correct. So were they a playoff team the year before?
No. They weren't a playoff team for 2 years after that.
No. He got them into the playoffs. What you mean?
They were a play-in team, yes.
They was like number 3 seed at one point. What are you talking about?
Yeah, and they lost the first round in 6 to the Warriors.
Is he Phil Jackson? No one said there was no Phil Jackson on the mark. But at the point is, can he take whatever he has and make something better out of it? He did.
Well, good luck. We'll see how that goes. I'm excited for you. Next, the big move of the week that has gotten a lot of talk, that we've discussed it, amongst each other. But it was a shocker. Now, as you look a little deeper, that people have been saying there's reasons why this isn't that bad. Calvin, you're my resident money guy, but I want to hear from you. The Milwaukee Bucks have decided to eat the money. They cut Dame Lillard, going to be paying him for the next several years.
5 years.
5 years they will be paying him, and he'll be free to sign with any other team and still collect money from them and collect whatever he collects in his next deal. And in turn, they went out and signed Miles Turner from the Indiana Pacers, which was a shocker to me. I didn't see why Indiana wouldn't risk going into the luxury and just go and bring that team back as full strength as possible. But maybe, I don't know. I'm still shocked about that. But
I've heard 2 different conflicting reports, so I don't know what to believe on that.
So what's your thoughts on first the Dame of it all, and then we'll discuss the Miles Turner?
In regards to Dame, I mean, he seems happy. I don't know if he didn't want to be there. I know there was that discrepancy about him rehabbing in Portland versus Milwaukee, but he seems happy. I don't know if, from Milwaukee's aspect, if I'm making this move to sign Miles Turner, but that's a whole nother conversation. But from Dame's position, he seems happy. He gets to go to a contender. He can go get healthy and make a difference in the playoffs. You can name 4 or 5 playoff teams that would love Dame coming off the bench, even if it's just for the playoffs. And then, he can probably get another decent-sized payday after that, but he gets a ring and he gets to contribute to winning a ring. And I think, even more importantly, he can choose to stay in the East. There are East teams that he can come off the bench and play for and add that spark off the bench and finish games. So for Dame, he gets to pick his next team. I don't know if he was really happy in Milwaukee. He was handpicked by Giannis, but outside the injury, this seems to be he gets his money as well, and this seems to be something that he wants or he wanted to do. It's just he didn't know how to get out of that situation.
Interesting. Nobody really rushing to sign him right now. You think he'll wait until he rehabs?
I think it's the other way around. I think he's not rushing to sign because he's kind of wants to wait and see who's in a position to best compete for the finals. What's the point of signing right now with Golden State and Jimmy Butler gets hurt in 2 months into the season and then all of a sudden they're not competing. So I think he's going to sign late into the season. He's going to be able to rehab on his own. I don't think the rehab portion is because he's going to have the best doctors to help him rehab. I think he signs probably late this end of this year.
And he's getting paid.
And he's getting paid. Yeah, he's getting paid this year by Milwaukee. So what's the rush to sign? If the ultimate goal is to win a ring now because you already got this money coming in, I can wait and see who's in the best position. Maybe it's New York and they need a spark off the bench. Maybe it's Orlando and I can provide a spark off the bench. I think he stays in the East most likely. I think that's he can have a better impact in the East, but I don't think it's a rush for him to sign right now.
Justin, your thoughts on the Bucks cutting Dame Lillard, and what was your reaction? And then the impact of them going out and getting Miles Turner after that.
One, Milwaukee. What else can you do, right? That was an option that they took. They needed
to do it though.
They wanted some way to replace Brook Lopez. They wanted something to say, look, Giannis, we're still moving, we're still doing stuff. Like, please don't understand, please don't leave us. Although we got somebody on the hook for 22 million, 22.5, and then not necessarily there. Just act like this person's there and he's like injured for 5 years. Don't worry about it. Just the fact that we have Miles Turner and you and Miles can be great together. Right, we re-signed Bobby Portis. What else can I do? What else can I do for you? This is where they're at. So this is what desperation leads to you, right? This is what it is. And so that part I understand from Milwaukee. They're trying to do whatever they can to help Giannis stay there. Now, Indiana, why would you do that? It was times in which I would watch Indiana, and yes, there's not too many guys that's Miles Turner's height that can shoot like him and can also play defense. But with the guard play that they had, which to me, I don't know, maybe they look at the playoff run the last couple of years and say like, yo, this might be where Neesmith and Nembhard and all those dudes, like they might be legit enough to say like, yo, these are our guys. It's including Halliburton too. Once he come back, like these, we're going to run with those guys. So because we got to probably pay those guys way much money and things like that, maybe Miles Turner is now expendable because we can just deal with average bigs playing basketball. We're going to be guard heavy, average bigs. Is that hard? Is that a stretch? Should you do that? No, you shouldn't. But money, these guys are going to have to get paid if you want to keep them. You want to keep this kind of this backcourt love that you have with Siakam. You want to keep them together if they want to. I don't know their game plan, but if they're saying that's what they're doing, they got to get money from somewhere. And Miles is going to could probably command more money. Like, yo, I need more money my way. So you get rid of Miles, you have more money set aside for the players that you have right now, and then hopefully you can pick somebody else up. So it's a risky move. It's a move that you can put off a year because you're really waiting for Halliburton to come back.
So like initially the talk was they didn't want to go to the luxury tax by paying Turner, especially going into the next season without Halliburton. And then it comes out that they offered them whatever contract that Indiana offered them. It was within $3 million a year. So he got like 4 for 107. So I think it was like 3 for 90 or something like that. It was within $3 million a year of what Milwaukee offered him. And he turned it down for more total money. So
the man won his money. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying anyone that gets that money. I don't know why Milwaukee does it. Like Miles Turner doesn't move the needle for Milwaukee, in my opinion. It doesn't
Miles
make
Turner
sense.
He's a better Brook Lopez. If that's your system,
I think Bobby Portis is a better Brook Lopez. Like I'd rather give Bobby Portis more minutes.
Not big enough.
I'm not saying he can play center, but I got Giannis. Like I don't. And then
no, you don't.
What?
You do not. You do not want Giannis to do any more than what he's doing.
What did Brook Lopez sign for? 2 years, $13 million? So you couldn't do that versus giving Miles Turner 4 years and 107?
You found someone else that can say, like, instead of going through this every year, be honest, I got Miles for the next 4 years.
He's younger.
That doesn't move the needle. Does that move the needle via Giannis? Just saying, hey, we cut Dame and we got Miles Turner.
If you're Giannis and you need a serviceable big that plays defense and can shoot. That right there? That right there, you already have like 3 guys that can fit that in the NBA right now.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Would you rather have Miles Reed or Miles Turner or Nas Reed?
It depends on what. No, actually,
for Milwaukee, I'll take Miles Turner.
I'll take Miles Turner
defensively. Nas Reed not a great defender
because of the defense.
Miles Turner's a great defender.
I said, yeah, he's pretty good.
Look. You only go by the numbers that they give you now.
The number I said was he averaged like 6 points in the finals.
His blocks per game is top of the league. Period. He's a 6'11" guy that can shoot threes, and he's top 5 in blocks per game.
So if you're Giannis, both of y'all are Giannis, are you happy about this move? Saying they didn't consult you or you didn't.
I don't mind them going out and getting Miles Turner. But the Dame is the issue.
I was going to get around the Dame, so I was getting those 2 out the way first. And the fact that this move was made, Giannis knew 100% about this move. 100%. You don't.
Correct. Okay. I'll say he knew 100%. Did they ask him yes or no? Yes or no? No. I agree with that. But do you think that they asked him, "We're going to do this"? Do you think so? Yes or no? I think he knew about it. Yeah, that's.
I think they got his blessing. Like,
I don't think they did. I don't think they did that. He knew about it, but I don't think they got his blessing.
If you didn't get his blessing or whatever, he can still go. He can still walk. But if he probably said, "Yo, that's hey, that's not a bad move," that's not necessarily getting my blessing. But I'm not telling you, that's a stupid move. That's not a bad move. Now, the problem that the issue is the Dame part of all this, right? So, I think it's verified. I think he legitimately came out on one of the social media joints and had like the snake emoji. Then he deleted it.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that.
I heard about it.
If he did that, somebody is being a snake. Snake is like being a rat. Somebody is two-faced here.
That was
right?
directed at Giannis?
Don't know.
Okay.
Do not know.
It's subliminal.
However, because he didn't name drop with it, it's who are you talking about, right? We probably got to listen to one of his raps to find out.
It could have been an organization. Somebody
could be an organization or it could be Giannis himself. We do not know. But all I know is he was told something and somebody did something else. That's why you get the snake emoji out of it. Now,
you gotta remember who's the ultimate snake on that team. Doc Rivers. But keep going.
Could I forgot about Doc too. Could be Glenn, right? So somebody said something to him and it turned out to be the opposite way. But this move is so, I'll say, unprecedented. Like it doesn't happen like that. They had to get everybody's buy-in for them to do it. Point blank period. And that included Giannis. So Giannis got to sit there, and he'll sit there with that smile on his face as he normally does.
I don't know about that. Like I said, I think they told him.
If that's your man, if that's your guy, if that's the person you vouch for, and they were like, "Yo, we think
Doc Rivers,
don't get rid of him."
I can see this more being a Doc. The only reason I'll say this, like when Chris Haynes said that Giannis was pissed,
he was pissed,
and I didn't realize that Chris Haynes is related to Giannis's wife. No, he's related to Giannis's wife.
But they close. Like a lot of the information comes directly from Giannis.
I believe that, but I'm saying that's also, I think it's his cousin and then like direct cousins.
Okay.
So I believe what he reports about this situation.
You can believe what he report, but you can also believe what I tell you too.
Oh, man. So if he believes that Giannis is upset,
that I'm pissed off. No. You can say that. You can say that just as easy.
You're right, but I believe that Giannis knew about it. I don't think Giannis gave that's fine.
I think Giannis feel like he got on his way out the door. And
I believe that too. I believe this is what y'all this is what y'all going to do. Okay, let's see this shit burn, and I'll be out in February. I also think that's gonna happen.
See, now the tough thing about it is the fact that if you didn't care about Giannis and you didn't care what he thinks and all this other stuff, right? You're the GM now. You're the ownership. You do not care about your number one guy, right? You don't care about your Luka Doncic, right? You don't care. Then why keep somebody on the books for that? Like, why even care about that position? Like you strapped yourself for the next 4 years for a player that can fill that position.
No, they said that you would have cost yourself more money by keeping him.
You just keep them for the next 2 years and just get rid of them.
But the problem with Milwaukee,
you 2 years left.
They don't. The problem with Milwaukee is one, they don't have their own picks, so their only trade chip is Giannis. So I feel as though they're hoping like let's throw this at the wall, see if it sticks. If it works, then we're good.
Okay.
If not, then we have this Giannis ultimate trade chip that we can get whatever we can get for it.
If you didn't care, you still trade Giannis anyway.
I don't think they want to trade him. I think if he gets traded, it's going to be like 70% Giannis, 30% Bucks. I think if he wants to get traded, he gets traded because the players have all the power. But I think he also is giving them like every chance to not get traded. And this is just one of their chances.
To me, this is such a bad business move. That's why I say
100% agree.
It's hard. It's hard, but it's not a bad business move if you care about the player. So you're doing whatever you can for the player. If you don't care about that player, then it's just 100% bad business move. Then either you're that incompetent or you try to look out for somebody.
Is it easier to say we got this Dame contract on the books? He may not play this year, and the only move we make is re-signing Bobby Portis, and we'll sign some two-way contracts, bring in some undrafted rookies, and that's all the moves we can make. That doesn't appease Giannis.
I don't care about Giannis. Then let me just be bad for the next year or two. Trade
but
Giannis.
They still don't have that pick, though. That's a problem. I was like, if they trade him, they still don't have their pick. So you have to trade him for assets, for players and picks.
You tied yourself down for the next 5 years for a roster spot that's $22 million. That's
a roster spot. It's part of your cap, but it ain't a roster spot.
It is a roster spot if you think about it.
They would have had to pay him $50-some million the next 2 years, though. So, like,
it's only 2 years, and then next year he's a tradable asset.
But I think they felt like they needed to go and get some pieces now, and maybe they thought
no. But we said the same.
I'm just saying no because a lot.
We said the same thing about Chris Paul. We said the same thing about Chris Paul would not get traded.
Chris Paul was making $30 million.
With that contract, it was high though, right? It was high at the time.
But remember, his contract was like partly guaranteed or whatever. So even if it was 40, it was only like 20 million guaranteed. So you could trade him for a $20 million contract. So the numbers were easy to trade. Dame was $50 million. I think they're over the second apron, so they can't aggregate. So you can't do like a 3 players for one and just make the salaries match. So it's hard to trade him. Also, especially him coming up.
If I want to be bad, I'll just be bad for 2 years, get what I can from Giannis, and just move forward. That's how
I agree. But them being bad for 2 years means that their pick goes to Portland. I think they still owe New Orleans a pick for Drew Holiday, and that was 5 years ago. He's on the third team now, so they still owe picks for that. So like they can't just be bad and say we're going to stink because they don't get that picks. So like, I mean, in all honesty, I think there's only 2 teams that can appease a Giannis trade, and one of them is Oklahoma City. So if Oklahoma City decides to do it, they can do it. That's really it. So if he gets traded, most likely it's one of them 2 teams because they got picks from every other team and they got young assets. And I mean, if you want to say Boston, I mean, it's got to be like a Brown or a Tatum. Does that really make sense? If you want to say Cleveland, it's got to be like a Mobley and a Garland, but you still don't get picks. So
no, it would have been OKC or Houston before they made that move, and San Antonio.
I mean, Houston can still do it now. It's just you got to gut the team because you got to do like a single.
Those were the teams that you was going to make that move. So that's if I was Milwaukee, I'd have just did it. I'd have said, "The hell, what you want, Giannis?"
If I'm Milwaukee, I would have called Oklahoma City and said, "Hey, you got these picks. Let's make some happen. You got Clippers picks, you got Miami picks, you got Phoenix picks. Let's make something happen."
I can't keep doing this every goddamn year. I'm sorry, I can't.
Yeah.
Not every year.
All right, let's talk about another team that had to make a decision this week. Well, a player made a decision for himself, and that was LeBron James. Picked up his $52 million player option for a 1-year deal. So the first time in history of LeBron's career, he'll be playing on a 1-year deal. His final year of his contract in LA. Leading to a lot of speculation that he possibly could be traded. The Lakers were just sold tentatively. A lot of changes happening in LA. Calvin, I'll start with you as the resident Lakers fan. Will LeBron be traded this year? Will he finish his career in LA? Will he move on to another team next year? What's your thoughts on the whole deal?
I don't think he'll be traded. Only because I don't think a team wants to give up the assets that would be needed to trade for him. And not saying he would cost a lot of assets, just saying he's got $50 million and you gotta pick out a way to make the money work. And there's only 2 or 3 destinations: Cleveland, Dallas, maybe Clippers, and that's only because they're in LA that he would go to. I think if the Lakers had their way, if they were able to go back a year ago and they knew they were getting Luka, they wouldn't even pick up this option. They're building for Luka in the future, which you can't really blame them. And LeBron just doesn't fit in that win now mindset when they're trying to build for Luka. Now, I also don't agree with saving cap space for a future year, because we've seen this year there's not a lot of free agents that warrant that cap space. So I don't agree with that either. You got to build different ways now. This isn't just a superstar big three driven league. So I don't agree with the way that they're doing things either. But LeBron wants to win now. The Lakers don't have a way to win now because they have very few assets. They only have Austin Reeves is really the only tradable asset they have, and maybe that's it. I don't think LeBron wants to be there, but there aren't any options. And I don't think, like, if LeBron would have opted out, they would have even tried to sign him for anything close to that $50 million, which is why he picked up that option. People talk about, well, why didn't you take half of that? Why didn't you take a third of that? I don't think the Lakers would have offered you that, because they would have rather just try to fill in pieces there and say, hey, we appreciate what you did for us, but it's time to move on. And I think this makes it even worse, because I don't know if LeBron wants to retire after this year. If that was the case, I think you'll already be hearing the seeds right now being planted about him retiring and turn over the keys to Luka and so on and so forth. But with the back and forth between Rich Paul and the Lakers so far, it gives the impression that he wants one more year. Maybe that's the year to get his Bryce, his youngest son in the league, after a year in college. So it's a lot of different pieces to the story. I don't think he gets traded. I think at worst he gets released. But I don't know if you want it. I mean, if you do that, your team's already done this year. But they were a 3 seed this year. They did improve somewhat, and you can get another full season of Luka, who looks to be even better shape. And I think if you get MVP Luka, then you have a chance to be a top 4 seed in the West. You have a chance to make the second round. I don't think you're going to win a title, but I think you get top 4 MVP Luka, there are still some damage that can be done. I don't think he gets traded, though. I think at best, or at worst, however you look at it, he gets released. Because there is not a Cleveland or a Dallas who wants to give the assets to trade for LeBron at 41 years old for 1 year, and that's it. You're not going to give up too much for that. So,
Justin, your thoughts on LeBron picking up his option?
I don't care. That's honestly my thoughts. You asked me my thoughts. My first thought was, I don't care about what LeBron James does, and that's no hate or anything like that. It's just you play with LA, you play for the Lakers. You playing with Luka Doncic, and y'all got Deontay Ayton or whatever the case may be. Y'all got Austin Reeves. You got enough to make something happen. Just make it happen. Just make it happen. Like I get it, right? Are they the best? No, but you have Luka Doncic, which, if you remember that Dallas Mavericks squad, I mean, he made those contenders, and they weren't too much that they weren't household names like that. They was decent dudes, right? And you're supposed to be. We use this in football a lot. Are you a force multiplier, right? We say that for quarterbacks. Like, hey, you can have lower ranking wide receivers, but you put the ball in the money, anybody can catch it. You have Luka Doncic that can give you a triple double whenever he feels like it, and you have the other guy, which is LeBron James, that should be able to give you a triple double whenever you ask for it. Make everything else work. I don't care. Just make it work. Like, it's no more excuses. I understand last year. Last year was the excuse. You literally didn't have somebody that was like over 6'9" playing the center. Like, can we get somebody that's over 6'9" that can grab a couple rebounds, so on and so forth? But you get DeAndre Ayton. Is he the best person? Absolutely not. However,
best person available.
Shoot. Yes. Can he defend? His blocks per game is up there with Rudy's at some points, right? Like it's. I saw a stat line where I saw his stats versus Rudy Gobert's stats, and they was damn near close. All right, that's enough for me. I didn't need to see too much more. This is the offensive league anyway, so it's not like we strapping dudes down anyway like that. I mean, like this, we going out there, we playing basketball. LeBron, if you got to put up, especially coming from New York, right? Coming from being a Knicks fan, and I see a player like Josh Hart, where as though Josh Hart go into the game like, I might need to get 15 rebounds tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. LeBron James, I'm not saying you are better than Josh Hart, bro. If you gotta not score today and get some boards, and strap up on the defensive end, you gotta do that, bro. I don't care. This is where we at. You're in shape. You man enough, right? You're all-time great, if not top 3, right? Top 2. Go ahead and make that happen. I just don't. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of.
For a man who don't care, you sure do care a lot.
It's just. I just hold it to the fire, man. Just make something happen, man. Just make something happen.
All right. Thank you for that long ass soliloquy about you not caring. But clearly people care. The Lakers are always going to be talked about. It is what it is. I think this lineup can win some games. Again,
they were a 3 seed last year.
That's what I'm saying. They can win some games, and I think that Austin Reeves is the key. I think a lot of people overlook how great he was in the second half of the season last year. I like to see Rui play a more natural power forward position, see what he can do. I think it'd be interesting. I don't think Ayton has been great since he left Phoenix, but remember at one point he was like the key guy down there.
No one overall draft pick.
Yeah, so
5 years ago in the same draft as Luka. Well, actually 7 years ago, I guess.
We'll see how that works out for them. Good luck on that. Another move that I found very interesting. Finally, it has happened. I've been asking for this for a few years. Finally, the Denver Nuggets have traded away the guy who everybody keeps saying has so much potential, the most inconsistent potential player in the history of the NBA, in my opinion, and that's Michael Porter Jr. Is finally no longer a Nugget, no longer dragging the team down, no longer all that failed, coming up short in big moments. He's the most average and 9-point guy you'll ever talk about in the league. Like in a big spot, come up with 11 points, 9 points. Pathetic. But they finally traded him away, went to New Jersey for Cam Johnson, who proved to be a pretty good option. And I like him being a third or fourth option on a team. And I think he'll be able to fill those shoes pretty good. Calvin, your thoughts on this move?
Look, I saw this trade. I mean, I'm not high on Michael Porter Jr. I'm higher on Cam Johnson. I don't think Cam Johnson is the shooter Michael Porter Jr. is. So I think you lose something in shooting, but do you get something in playmaking and on another wing defender? And when you add that to, they re-signed Bruce Bowen, even though he's 3 years old, they don't really know what he has left. And they signed Tim Hardaway Jr. I like the moves that they made. I don't know if the moves that you made put you over the top to where you're better than Oklahoma City.
You compete. You win 7 with
or you're better than a Minnesota, who like Anthony Edwards always seems to be the best player in that series. Or even you're better than the Lakers with a Luka Doncic, who seems to have that number now. Like I'm a guy that says when Jamal Murray is healthy, this team seems to be great. Jokic puts up numbers, empty stats at times, but when Jamal Murray's healthy, this team goes. So I think that's what it is. I don't know if they're better than the teams I just named, though. I don't even think they're better than Houston, actually. So I'll throw them in there as well. So I think that they are better than they were last year. And even if they add the guy from Sacramento, backup center, Valanciunas, if they add him as well, so you get a backup for Jokic to take some of those minutes down, I do like what they've done, but I don't think they're better or as deep as the 3 teams I named. So it's still a second-round playoff exit, in my opinion. But they got off that contract, and I think that's the key.
Justin, any thoughts on this move?
That last thing you said was the most important thing. They got off their contract. 2, he clearly didn't take the reign as being like 2A, 2B besides Jamal Murray. That's what he wanted.
I thought it was like a 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. No. You're not hearing me.
He was supposed to take.
He was supposed to be that guy, right? And he's not. And I think he proved that. Some of these games in the playoffs, or he was putting out like less than 10 points. Like it was bad. And he's just a shooter, right? He's a shooter first. And
a shooter who can't shoot.
And if that don't fall for him, then now it's like I don't know what to do for him. So you get a player in return that he has multiple ways of scoring, right? And that's all Joker needs. Joker just needs you to do something and just do it well. I will figure it out. I will figure the rest out. Just do something, and I will work it out. And that's what they have here. And I'm sorry, when you have someone out that position that can now be a little bit more dependable, so I can get about 15 points with no problem to go along with the rest of the starters they have. I think the Nuggets are right back here. I think you're completely undervaluing the Nuggets going into this next year, Calvin. So
which team that name is
the problem?
So which team? OKC 7. Go ahead.
And OKC will have experience and they've gotten better, in my opinion.
Right.
Are they better than Houston?
I haven't seen Houston
until I see him on the court. Yes, they're better because they have Jokic. Like we're not going to do that. We're not going to. I'm not
better than Minnesota.
Yes.
Even though Minnesota went into Denver, won Game 7 2 years ago.
That's 2 years ago, and it was a different team. They still
had
Cat back then.
Cam Johnson making a difference?
They had Cat 2 years ago. We're talking about this team as
to me, yes. Well, like I said, when you have someone that's inconsistent, now if Cam Johnson comes in and be inconsistent, then everything goes out the door. However, I'm not expecting him to. I'm expecting him to give you the strong 15 to 18 that he's been averaging anyway, and just continue that. And now you have Jokic to make
he averaged at 15 to 18. He was number one option.
You like to talk, and sometimes you just talk yourself right into a goddamn wall.
Hearing what you're saying.
No. You said you expected 15 to 18, right? I'm saying he gave you that. He gave you that 15 to 18
as number one option, right?
In Brooklyn.
Correct.
So, okay.
Now,
so let me ask you this question: will he get the same amount of shots in this offense that he got in Brooklyn? So
that's your problem. 15, 16 shots. You're not here with it, right? You're here, but you're not here. Pause.
Answer my question.
If he has Jokic to play off of,
he
doesn't need the same amount of shots. All he had to do is
he's going to shoot. He can shoot
3 less. He could shoot 3 to 4 left shots and have a higher field goal percentage to bring.
Did he do that for Michael Porter Jr.?
Yeah, he missed everything. Go back and look how many wide open.
I'm about to say, do you realize how bad Michael Porter played at stretches? Like he was really
Are you kidding
bad.
me? That man was pathetic. He was benched.
I ain't gonna use the word
benched.
Yeah, he was pathetic. He was pathetic at times, right? So we get rid of him. And you add Bruce Brown and Cam Johnson to replace him?
I think you're misremembering why they put Russ in as much as they did.
Not play better with Jokic.
Russ wasn't playing point guard all the time.
He made Bruce Brown play a lot better, right? Not necessarily he made him, but he played better with him. And then once he got his own, it's like, oh, there's a different world out here. Let me go back to what I know.
He made certain people better, and he didn't make certain people better. That's what we're saying.
No.
Because some people actually look. I gave you the open shot. You missed it. Johnson was missing open jump.
Take an ill-advised shot.
You're saying Cam Johnson is a better shooter than Michael Porter Jr.
I will.
I'm saying he will have a better flow than Michael Porter Jr. Yes.
So you're saying he's a better shooter than Michael Porter Jr. So he'll make those shots.
Yeah,
we'll see that. I don't think he's a better shooter than Michael Porter Jr. We'll see. Okay.
Well
so he's not. It doesn't have to be a straight 3-pointer. It's whatever the flow is, whatever the offense is. The offense might need him to.
And Cam Johnson don't mind going to the rack. Michael Porter Jr. allergic to the basket. Allergic to it.
The man averaged 8 rebounds at one point.
Yeah, long rebounds. They wasn't like the ones he went in there and got. Man, I'm not arguing you about this. You didn't watch the game. All you know is Jamal Murray.
We'll see.
No.
Jamal Murray will get the respect that he deserves.
Y'all love
Jokic for putting up some PER numbers and being a 6 seed. I ain't forget that.
So much of Michael Porter Jr. could give me 20.
I ain't forget that. We'll see.
Get out of here.
Like I said, I still have 3 teams better than them in the West.
I wanted to discuss these because we could go all day on these topics. But
you know what you need to add to this slide? You need to add Paul Pierce's statement because that was even
coming.
worse.
Don't worry about that.
That was even worse.
We'll talk about that another time. But T-Mac said you can replace him if you replace him with Kobe and he played with Shaq. He would have won the same amount of rings.
No, he didn't. He didn't say that. He didn't say same amount. He said, he'd have
won 2. Look, clean it up.
You got to stand up for your guy.
Because he came out and did like an apology, a clarification video. I saw it.
Because the whole statement was blasphemous. But
D-Wade said that Pau Gasol was the MVP of them teams when Kobe won his titles, his second 2 titles, which I agreed with. And Gilbert called Kobe the Pippen to Shaq's Michael. And I think many people will agree to that. It was early in Kobe's career. But I think the overall thing I wanted to touch on what's going on with this recent disrespect of the late, great Kobe Bryant. I know he's passed away, so it's been taboo for a few years. He died unexpectedly, 5 years ago now. So a lot of people, that's a topic you really don't want to touch. But I think now that we 5 years later, like, okay, we can still talk basketball. You know what I mean? So I think people gotten a little comfortable having discussions here lately about the ring culture. That was a discussion that came up where you had Gilbert Arenas and T-Mac on a stream. You had different people running off at the mouth. But I thought it was very interesting that T-Mac brought up something that many people have said. And I said this, if Iverson was on them Lakers teams, they'd have won. Again, I've said it, so I'm not disagreeing. I didn't say T-Mac. I said Iverson. But what's your thoughts on this, Justin, as our resident Tracy McGrady fan?
Am I a T-Mac fan? Yes. Let's clear the air. I'm a Tracy. That's my guy, right?
The biggest I know.
Now, this is the thing. There was a point in 2000, 2002, between let's say 2000 and 2002. Like 1 year. It's not 1 year. Stop that. But it was a couple years there that Kenny Smith. I swear I tried to look for the video. I couldn't find it. Kenny Smith came up. Does it exist? It does exist. Kenny Smith came up with something called that card. It was the blueprint, right? The blueprint was who is the blueprint of Michael Jordan, right? If Michael Jordan could be separated or whatever the case may be, who was in the running to be that guy? There were three main guys that was in that running, period. It was Kobe Bryant with the fro, Tracy McGrady, who was he was leading the league in NBA at that time, points per game, and it was Vince Carter for obvious reasons. Vinsanity. Matter of fact, most of these guys that's talking right now don't even remember Vinsanity, period. They don't even remember that was a thing. So in that time period, those guys, they were that good, right? They could do it all. Vince Carter it wasn't nothing Vince couldn't do. It wasn't nothing T-Mac couldn't do. Like, we haven't really seen those type of guards, two guards like that in quite some time. Matter of fact, I don't think you've been blessed with having two guards that good since those three together. Now, they were saying we don't know if these guys are interchangeable or not. Mm-hmm. We look at Kobe's whole career and they say, well, his career versus Tracy McGrady wasn't bringing that up. He said that period, yes, he was just as good, if not better, as an individual than, say, Kobe Bryant, because Kobe he had Shaq. Like, he literally had the most dumb. That's the thing. This is all love to Shaq. That's what people are kind of missing too.
That's what I was saying.
People don't realize how dominant Shaq was. How
Shaq
he was 4-0 people. Like, he was sweeping people. So he was, honestly, and we lived it, right? We saw it, right? He was going 1-on-4, 1-on-5, something. That still shot with Kenyon Martin brings it up all the time. It was
dunked on the whole
New Jersey. He dunked on the entire. It's all 5 Nets players around Shaq dunking a basketball. He was just that dominant. So you're saying if I can match skill set offensively with Kobe Bryant, I could have been Kobe and been in those similar situations. And hey, maybe not 4-0, but we winning in 5, no more than 6. That's what he is. That's what Tracy is alluding to. He at that period. We're not talking. See, Kobe didn't separate himself from those dudes probably until like 04. Like, it was like 7 years.
You just said 02 to 04. This was the conversation,
no,
right?
I did not say 04. I said 2000 to like 02. That 3-year gap. Those 3 years.
Let me go to stats. Let me go to stats. Let me go to stats. All right. 2000. The scoring leaders for the league. 31 points a game. Iverson.
Shaq
29.
Shaq was 2000.
I'm reading it right now. This is 2000, 2001 regular season.
Oh, I thought you meant 99, 2000. Okay.
99, 2000. I can go to 99. Shaquille O'Neal, 29 points. Iverson, 28. Grant Hill, 25. Vince Carter next. All right, let's go to 2000. Iverson, 31. Jerry Stackhouse, 29, almost 30. Shaq, 28. Kobe, 28. So Shaq and Kobe basically averaged 28 apiece in 2000. Mm-hmm. And Tracy McGrady was at 26. All right. 2002. Iverson, 31. Shaq, 27. Paul Pierce, 26. Tracy McGrady, 25. Kobe, 25. So they basically averaged the same.
And then 01. You skipped 01.
That was 01.
The first one was 01.
The first one was 2000.
No, the first one was 9900, and then he went 0000.
No, I'm going back. 2000, 2001 was Shaq and Kobe both averaged 28 points a game. Tracy averaged 26. That's 2000, 2001. 2001, 2002, Shaq averaged 27, Tracy averaged 25, Kobe averaged 25. So they both averaged 25 in 01, 02. 02, 03, Tracy led the league in scoring, 32 points a game. Kobe was 30 points a game. Right behind him, Shaq was 27, obviously had 27. So right there, they neck and neck. 03, 04, Tracy had 28. The next highest score was Peja Stojakovic with 24. So that was a down year for scoring. Kobe averaged 24.
I will stop right there. I will stop right there.
Yeah, I think after that was the window. Those two years.
Kobe
like,
scoring took off after that because Shaq left. So it wouldn't be no comparison at that point.
And then those 7 years, the next 7, I will say. So the next 7 of Kobe's career, that was like that 81-point performance. He like, yo, I am better than everybody. And then the next 7 was the LeBrons and all them saying like, no, I'm too much up there with you. So it was those first 7 years, right, that we talking about, mainly those 2000 years. So T-Mac, he's not wrong in what he's saying. Like, yo, Kobe said himself multiple times, like, yo, I couldn't figure this dude out until I did. You know what I'm saying?
I'm missing something. Iverson was behind all of them. A lot of them.
Okay, we're not knocking it. We're saying like that prototype, that 6'6", 6'7",
the long body type.
What are we actually saying?
Plug and play. Plug and
play. We saying?
Then AI will be Dirk Fisher's plug and play, right? Like that. I'm guarding who you're guarding, and I'm playing who you're playing. That kind of a thing.
So is the argument that we're saying, or you're saying, that T-Mac plugging in T-Mac in 99-00 season to 03-04, they win 3 titles with?
No, he never said 3, but he said
a title
off of that.
He said he wins 8 titles. So he wins 8 titles.
That's it.
He said he won.
So the problem I have with that is Shaq was the best player in the world 99-2000. So you could have put 10 players on there.
That's the point. Yes. That's why Kobe has always been.
No. Listen what I'm saying. I was literally saying T-Mac didn't have to do much to win the title because Shaq was so dominant. However, I saw Kobe in 99-2000 win a game in Indiana in overtime when Shaq fouled out. Can T-Mac do that? Can T-Mac do that? Can T-Mac do that?
Chopped liver?
I don't know.
You thought it was chopped liver?
He couldn't come up and big T-Mac can do that. I saw Kobe in 2002 go into Sacramento and win a game in the playoffs.
I hear all that. I hear what you're saying. He never said, yo, I'm going to go ahead on and have the same exact 4-0 sweep. He's not saying that. Yo, give me 7 games with Shaq. I'm winning.
I didn't say it was a sweep. I said, what I'm saying is I saw Kobe contribute to those 3. If we're just looking at 2000, 2002.
So you mean to tell me at a certain spots, even if it's pressured, T-Mac couldn't give you six straight points or something?
I saw Kobe contribute to these teams in the playoffs. I never saw T-Mac contribute as much in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying. So when it was in the playoffs, beyond the first round, and I saw Kobe hitting clutch shots,
this is the problem I have.
Rebounds. That's all I'm saying.
That's your problem.
Let me make it a comparison.
He's just saying, yo, you plug me in with the dominance that is Shaq.
And that's disrespecting Kobe because you're saying Shaq was that great and Kobe did nothing.
No. You're taking a guy who's comparable and you put him next to a great player.
Case in point, that Golden State team that picked up Kevin Durant, that same team. Let's just say if they did not get Kevin Durant, they just needed an upgrade from Harrison Barnes. If you put Paul George in that situation, Paul George wins a championship. LeBron James on the other side, it don't matter.
That's not the same. Kevin Durant was the best player. Kevin Durant was the best player in that playoffs. I'm not saying Paul George was the best player.
I'm not saying he's not. But that team was so loaded, they just needed an upgrade from Harrison Barnes.
They needed someone to negate LeBron James. That's what Kevin Durant did. And he outplayed him.
More than negate.
I'm not saying Paul George.
You realize what Paul George did against the Miami Heat when he was with Indiana? Do you forget that?
I'm saying he wouldn't do that with. I didn't forget that. He's not doing that with Oklahoma City. I'm sorry, with Golden State. That's what I'm saying.
See, that's what I'm saying. Yo,
I will liken it to. Let's go back to the 90s. If you take Scottie Pippen off of those Bulls teams and put Grant Hill on those
Grant
teams
Hill was
with
arguably
Jordan.
the second best player in the
I mean,
league.
many will say Scotty was the second.
I'm sorry.
One of
Let
the
me
top
say that
players.
he was the
just had
best
to play
wing
next to
player,
Jordan.
not on Chicago. That's what I was.
Okay, was Scotty one of the best wings in the league?
Well, I completely agree. I say this religiously. Scotty was the second best wing player in the league for like a 5-year period.
That's what I'm saying when it comes to Kobe. Kobe was great, but he played next to Shaq. Scotty was great.
Do you think Tracy McGrady is the second best wing player in the league?
Big that it's not hard to get some shine off of it. That's all it is.
When you play next to a great player, you can be great, but you still going to not be greater than them.
I said this. I think I made a post about this. The problem I have is, why are we having a conversation about ring culture when you have Tracy McGrady, Gilbert Arenas, and Jason Williams talking? Why are we having that conversation?
I mean, that's like us talking. We ain't got no rings, but we can
have an opinion. They played and don't have no rings. But
you can have an opinion is my problem. I don't like that type of talk. That's like saying unless you
you could have had Kendrick Perkins. You could have had Kendrick Perkins up there. You could have Richard Jefferson up there. You could have had other opinions, though. That's my point.
That was his opinion.
That's not fair. That's like saying nobody should be able to talk unless you got 6 rings, 8 rings.
In that case,
I don't want to equate.
You won't have no time to say anything. No one can win like him.
But no, you could have had someone that made it to the finals. That's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying, you got people that's going to have an opinion. Some of the best podcasters or people who talk about football or basketball, they weren't the best players, but they have an opinion. Maybe they sat on the bench and watched greatness. Maybe they
studied the game up close. The analysis of Dan Orlovsky, then you on your own.
Nah, I'm not using him, but I'm just saying some of the best. John Madden wasn't a super great football player, but
he was an excellent coach.
He wanted to.
I equate the two as the same. He was a leader of men and was able to get the ring. My point was, you had Richard Jefferson, you had Kendrick Perkins, you even had got Bob. Why am I blanking on his name? The former general manager of the Golden State Warriors. That you could have had added to the conversation. That's all I'm saying.
I get it. Again, that's semantics. Then another conversation popped up. LeBron was on his podcast, and he had KD on with him and Steve Nash. And LeBron was very complimentary of Kevin Durant. He said, we haven't had a score as equipped in our league as KD ever. And Paul Pierce was on his show the other day. And he said he took exception to that rule. He said he was probably the most gifted, most skilled scorer the league has ever seen. He said, I was probably the best pure scorer ever in the history of the game. Justin, what's your thoughts on this topic in particular? Do you think KD is the most equipped scorer in the history of the game? And when we define that, meaning he can score from every different way, purely, and his percentage, his high percentage of shots. Go ahead.
So KD, yes, one of the best I would say 5-level scorers of all time. 5-level means the people normally say 3. Inside, mid-range, long distance,
3-pointers.
I say 5 because I think post play has something to do with it as well, and isolation play, right? So can you do all those things? And KD was probably one of the better ones that made it look easy because he's 6'11", 7 foot, doing everything that everyone else could do. Another plug and play guy. Now with Paul Pierce saying that, in his eyes, yeah.
You're supposed to.
I'm probably one of I was probably the best. Probably means that there's doubt there as well. I was probably one of the best, but he's correct as well. He was probably one of the better per scores the league has seen. It was easy for him. You ever look at Paul Pierce play and be like, yo, he's like Paul Pierce never was like in the top physical shape or nothing like that. He could just get to a spot and score. That's what he did. And I'm not going to take that away from him. That's what he did year in and year out. Now he had to get help, and then once he got help, he went to the finals and won. Finals MVP. We're not taking that away from him. Like, bro, you were one of the best per scorers the game has seen. You're right. He wasn't the best, but he was up there. No doubt. When he made the game look easy. Carmelo Anthony, one of the best scorers of all time because he's a 5-level scorer and he makes it look easy. Not everybody can do that. T-Mac is one of them. Makes it look easy.
See, let me stop you. Wait. Stop you there. Paul Pierce don't make the game look easy. Melo made the game look easy.
Let me say something.
Melo was smooth.
Before you go back and pull.
My spot and pull it up.
Before y'all go back and forth, let me say this. At what point? KD, I agree, was the best. He's probably the best KD, scorer ever. I think he had a chance to be the all-time leading scorer if you want to equate that and count. If he didn't get injured and miss basically all of 2 seasons. On the Paul Pierce aspect, Paul Pierce is prime, overlapped with AI's prime, McGrady's prime, Kobe's prime, Vince Carter's prime, Melo's prime. He wasn't better than those 5. So I'm not even going to acknowledge or even try to see where he's coming from. He said the best pure scorer in the game. Well, I just gave you 5 that you played in your prime with that you weren't better than. And that's just 5 that I saw with my own eyes. I'm not even going back to the 90s or going back even further than that. So that's just, if you want to say that to try to toot your own horn, you've said stuff in the past that's been utterly ridiculous as well, saying you're better than Wade, saying, if you give me prime LeBron, prime Wade, whatever he said, then I will have more titles as well. I understand you just be talking to talk sometimes. You feel like no one pays attention. So you say this stuff so we can talk about it on our platform as well. But there is no way that you are the best pure scorer in the game. When I name 5 people that were played in your prime, I named 5 people that you played with in your prime that you were not better than. And you just saying stuff just to say stuff, man. Come on.
His percentages never was that high. He wasn't a better 3-point shooter. His free throw percentage ain't that high. Like I'm trying to understand what's.
I'm not even going to say somebody else had more points than you because I think that's a cop.
No. I don't know about points. It's about the way you look.
I'm just saying, looking at pure scores, looking at Melo's jump shot to pull up from anywhere, looking at the ability for T-Mac to get to the basket, looking at Kobe to be able to score from anywhere, looking at AI's ability to be 6 foot.
I think because of the other guys, we overlook Paul and what Paul could do. Jerry Stackhouse
better than him scoring.
Jerry Stackhouse was very similar. I'm gonna get to a spot. I'm a spot guy. When you think about being in certain spots, and I'm going to pull up. I ain't never seen nobody block a Paul Pierce pull up ever. Because he just, and it looked like you could because he only got like this ball off the ground. Exactly. Like Paul Pierce, like he was not an athlete, guys. He played an athletic sport, but he was not an athlete, guys, and he still scored whenever he really wanted to. That's pure because your physical aspect didn't take over. You just got to your spot and said, "Yo, you're not going to beat me." Like Joe Johnson is a pure scorer of the ball. Some of these guys, like, you got to work hard. Paul Pierce,
Michael Red, I give you those type of guys.
That's what I'm saying. When you look at
he's in that class, I agree with that.
I didn't have to work hard to get it. It just came easy. It came easy to Paul. It did.
Yeah, but anyway, I don't think you can. Once you start saying, "Nah, LeBron need to put me over KD," that was the quote. Go back and watch.
I'm not saying that. Did he say that? That's
go crazy. Back and listen to the whole clip.
Okay, that's anything. You say probably the best. That's so much.
That was just his graphic, but he said a lot more than that.
But if he said, "Yo, I'm better than KD,"
LeBron, the whole topic came up because LeBron said KD was. He said, "Nah, that's me." And then he just kept going and going and going. And then he said at the end, I was probably the best because first he said he was better than KD and LeBron need to put up some respect on his name. That's what he said. Like, hold up. Nobody brought like a comparison up. He was just praising KD because KD was on his podcast. And then you needed something for content. So he asked you to comment on it. And then at the end of his soliloquy, he went like, "Yeah, I was probably the best," because Keyshawn Johnson was like poking at him, like, "Oh yeah, you go inside, outside." You know what I mean? Step back,
taking that man on.
Like
there you go.
It was funny,
bro.
So anyway, yeah, interesting.
And it's Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce is already deluded anyway.
He is.
That show was going
terrible. I think he's better than Kobe.
He said, "I'm better than D Wade." Wait, what?
Crazy. All right, let's get into some NFL. We got a lot to cover today, and we got a little bit of time to do it. Let's get our list out this week. We starting going back to our NFL previews in a minute, but let's talk about this Miami Dolphins trade. Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith going back to Miami. Going to Pittsburgh, and Minka Fitzpatrick going back to Miami. Very interesting. Calvin, really quick, what's your thoughts on this trade?
From a Pittsburgh aspect, I thought it was interesting, especially with them having to eat some of that money because they're still trying to sign TJ Watt as well. and he's still sitting out and not reporting. But I thought this would be a better trade if you kept Fitzpatrick. I don't understand what was the point of trading him. Now we talked about in the group chat how there were reports that he was the guy that was kind of playing for himself and kind of playing hero ball last week. So maybe it's addition by subtraction. But I do like their cornerback tandem. They signed Darius Slay from Philadelphia as well, and they already have Joey Porter Jr. as well at cornerback. So they do have a decent tandem in this.
Who is
division.
Trash?
In this
Joey
division,
Porter Jr. is trash. He was the one getting picked on last year.
Hey, when he's the third corner now, you can look at it a little bit differently.
He's not the third corner.
Is old.
You saying Slade gonna be the third corner?
Yeah, he gotta be.
No. You saying it's gonna be Ramsey?
You think Ramsey going to slot?
From what I heard from their camp, they were saying because I was looking into Jacksonville and I heard all this stuff coming just in the Florida area and some of the lines I was reading. They were saying Ramsey is gonna be the one moving from nickel to free safety to second corner. Like he's gonna be the one that's moving all around, and those other two guys, they're gonna have all three of them on the field at the same time. But the traveler, even from safety to cornerback to nickel to maybe some outside linebacker, depending on coverage.
Put him on Zay Flowers. Okay, I'll take it.
It's going to be Ramsey. He's going to be the one that's moving around.
If that's the case, that's
barbecue chicken.
I mean, maybe, and I know the Ravens were tied to Ramsey for a long time as well. I guess it was more of a money aspect. But if he wanted to do this, I'm glad he didn't sign him. I mean, you're short of Darius Washington, so I
don't think he wants to do it. But they say, look, if you coming over here, we like you said, we spent money on Slade. We got the Porter Jr. Like, how you want out of Miami? This is what you got to do. And he said,
I'm gonna be honest with you. I was far more scared of Minkah Fitzpatrick. So when I thought they had went and got Ramsey and had Minkah over the top and Slade, oh man, I was petrified. I said, "Oh Lord!" But then when they said he was getting shipped back in return,
okay,
thank you, Lord, thank you. Open it up. Now DeAndre Hopkins might have a chance. You know what I mean? Now we got a little openings over there. You know what I mean? Look, Joey Porter Jr. is young. He probably will get better. I'm not saying he's hit his cap, but the guy showed a lot of inexperience, took a lot of bad chances. And y'all got to remember who the linebackers they dealing with, too. You got knucklehead Patrick Queen, like over the middle.
You got.
Oh, my goodness. The drag routes. Oh, the tight end play from Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely on them suckers, on them bums, without Minkah back there roving the middle. Oh, my goodness. They in trouble. They are in trouble. They have no linebacker play to speak of. And like you just said, we don't know what's going on with TJ Watt. A lot of speculation. Will they sign him? Most likely they'll come to some type of deal, but I heard they're not close. They're not close. And the Steelers don't like to pay nobody. Yeah.
So it's some things out there. TJ Cap, he wants to be
you want more money than Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett. He wants Myles Garrett. Now, what they're saying is, and stats back it up. Hey, man, those last 4 or 5 games of the season, I mean, some of these games you didn't do anything. Like there was no stats to your name.
We saw in the Baltimore twice.
Look. It's like that's true. Now, but what about everything else? But what have you done for me lately?
That's true.
Right?
Yeah. And they were he's a game changer, man.
No doubt. But they were saying some of the same things about Minkah Fitzpatrick too. It was like, your last couple games, like we need you. You're not that same cat.
Y'all don't understand, and this is what I try to tell people. There is a certain level of frustration that comes with playing with a Patrick Queen. He will demoralize your defense, and everybody else will be taking the blame for him taking these unnecessary chances, being out of position. Go back and watch the film. Go back and watch the film. The safeties will get blamed for something the linebacker is supposed to be covering over the middle. And who you think is the main culprit of that? Is that guy right there. I'm telling you, man, I proved it. I can go back and point out Spillane, the white boy linebacker for Pittsburgh. I think he left. Didn't he leave too? Like you're going to see.
I don't remember.
You're going to see people coming out and saying a little thing. Yeah, he was undisciplined. He the reason why we had to do certain things. I'm telling you, it's him.
I know. You don't think they realize that too? The people that
they realize it now.
Every inch of it.
I'm surprised they didn't realize it before they signed him last year.
That's the problem.
That's what I'm thinking.
You didn't listen to Larry Cautious coverage.
Shout out. But you know what I'm saying? But back to TJ real quick. It's like, yo, Myles Garrett did like our team was trash. And Myles Garrett still let the league. He was the defensive player of the year down there, right?
And he was defensive player. No. Oh, he was a couple years ago. Okay.
Yeah. And he was like arguably like every year he's defensive player of the year, right? So, TJ, where you at, bro?
I mean, I don't.
Yes. He had some injuries.
Yeah. I thought he was gonna be traded. I thought he was gonna get traded around a
so
draft.
I heard this, and I'm swinging it to y'all, boss. Now they're saying. I heard reports, I should say, that because TJ is constantly getting hurt, once JJ started to get hurt, he was never the same again.
That's true.
It was a downward decline for him. Are they saying, is it genetic? Is it like, hey, now I believe that you can come back, but you all over 30 now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He that old?
I thought he's like 28. Okay.
He's not 28.
Wow.
So look it up real quick. So I'm like, if you go with Daniel over 30 and those injuries happen, are we seeing the same decline like we saw with JJ?
He'll be 31.
And I'm supposed to give you Myles Garrett money? That's tough as a franchise.
I didn't realize he's been in the league that long.
If I'm him, I want out, man. I want out. Man. That team is in purgatory. Yeah, and they're going to be in purgatory.
That's
the problem. That's the problem. You don't invest money in the right positions. And now if I'm him and I got an opportunity to go somewhere else, I take it, man. It is what it is.
This is last year, right? This is last year of his contract.
I think they let him get to his last year.
I think this.
Well, he holding up, so it clearly must be something. You know what I mean? So he want a new deal. He want a long-term deal. And all these pass rushers getting paid. Michael Parsons on the verge of getting paid. You saw what happened. They threw all that money at Myles. And what did Myles Garrett have to do to get that money? He had to request a trade.
Watt signed his most recent contract extension in 2021, and 2025 is the last season of the 4-year deal.
And you ain't supposed to let a player like this get to his last year, man. You ain't. And you gonna franchise him next year? Nah, he gonna have to walk. He gonna walk. Interesting, man. Interesting. All right, let's get y'all lists out, man. We starting this week with our preview, starting with the Las Vegas Raiders. So, Calvin, take it away.
Upgraded starting quarterback position with Geno Smith, who it was interesting because they were also tied to the Vikings quarterback. I'm blanking on his name. They went to Seattle. I'm blanking on his name right now. Yes, they were linked to Sam Darnold, and apparently Tom Brady was not in on Sam Darnold. That's why they pivoted to Geno Smith. It was Tom Brady who said, I would rather trade for a quarterback than sign Sam Darnold. And that was the talk in Vegas. And that's how they ended with Geno Smith. The biggest offseason loss for Robert Spillane, in my opinion, on the linebacker. This defense is really going to struggle outside of one key person who still is in Vegas for whatever reason it is. And I think we all love the offseason addition of Ashton Genty, who could be the best running back, in a couple years. I think, and outside of him probably changing his stance, but the things he did at Boise State, him coming into the league, just what appears to be on fire, especially in this time where we've seen older running backs with Saquon and Derrick Henry and even Josh Jacobs kind of extend their useful life as well. So when you have a one with fresh legs in that offense, which you have the reigning offensive rookie of the year in Bowers, you have a pretty good quarterback. You still have receivers. So in my opinion, just how good would this Raiders offense with potentially Bowers and Genty take them in the future? This has the potential to be an explosive offense.
What did you say?
Numbers.
Did you say a pretty good quarterback? You giving
No. I said pretty good receivers. I didn't say
no. You said quarterback. I heard
you. Pretty good. I ain't say pretty good quarterback. What can they make the playoffs in this division? You could argue that they're going to be the worst team in this division. That's just because Denver is probably the best defense in the division. We already know about Kansas City, and what can we expect from the Chargers? They may win 7-8 games and be the worst team in this defense, and the worst team in this division, just because of the division, how good it is. This is defense be able to hold up. We know what they're going to have just in one pass rusher. but can they get any other production consistently to be able to get offenses off the field? Not sure if that's the case. And was Geno right? Was Geno right to answer at quarterback? Was it better to go? Did you want Sam Darnold? Was it better to go Sam Darnold? I mean, I think they gave Geno an extension as well, so you kind of tied him the same amount of time period as Sam Darnold. Which one would you rather have? Geno's a little bit more mobile. He can make more plays outside the pocket. But Sam Darnold was he just a flash in the pan? Is that why you're concerned? Or are you concerned about maybe getting a quarterback next year's draft and kind of completing that trio with Bowers and Gentry? So the Raiders have the potential to put up numbers on offense. They could probably give up a lot of points on defense. But they could be the fourth best team in this division and win 7 games just because the division may be the best division in football.
Who's that number one option at wide receiver?
Jacoby Myers.
Yes.
Former Patriot. Good luck. Justin, your thoughts?
It's a lot to say they're going to be last in the division, unfortunately. It's a lot. You said a lot. I know you're just giving a report, so you're not necessarily.
It's a hell of a report, though. I appreciate.
You don't think they're going to be last in the division?
You did think they're going to
be last in the division?
They fighting for it. Yeah,
everybody's better than them.
I think Denver's better. And like you said, the Chargers. I think they're going to be better based off of head coach alone. Who's the head coach? Who's the Raiders head coach?
Jim. Pete Carroll.
Yeah, that's why I got Geno, because Pete Carroll.
Pete Carroll, correct. I give him respect, but Seattle was struggling a little bit in his last little reign. So maybe a change of venue might be better for him, and Geno as well. If you would have told me that one of these guys were playmakers at wide receiver, like high level, more so than Brock, then I'm like, okay, I got something for you. You know, Geno played with DK for a long time, for a little bit there. And I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying like that's a good option to have. Jackson Smith and Jigba, I mean, he could get open in a phone booth, right? You know, he can give. Now he might not give you 200 yards in a game, but he gonna give you about 20 catches in the game. These are high level players that you're going to give it to. So now that you go from that to the receiving core that we have here, led by Jacoby, and I'm just no shot to Jacoby, but you ain't DK or JSN. So you know we'll see. I do like Ashton Gentry. I think I love to see him stand up. If he can do that stand up running back thing in the NFL, hopefully that works for him. But no, last in the division. It's a lot to say that.
Yeah. Again, Max Crosby always going to give you a motor, always going to do something on defense that keeps the team surprisingly in the game. But again, they'll win a division game or two because that's the Raiders do. They always will upset somebody. They'll fight hard against the Chiefs. We've seen them beat them the last 2 years in a row. Again, but the receiving core is the glaring hole, and I need to see. You know, it's some players still out there in free agency if they decide to feel like they need to go get a veteran and used to be with the Chargers.
I think like an Amari Cooper.
Yeah, go get a Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper. They out there. You know what I mean? Go fill out some veteran guys to give Geno some options. I don't think that's bad with a young tight end, a young running back. I think it can help the team.
That changes a lot. That changes a lot.
It does change a lot. At least to put a threat on the field.
Veterans there that knows how to get open legitly. Yeah. They just need help. And like I said, with Brock Bowers being there, he helps out a lot. He makes defensive matches help. So yeah.
So I think that'll be interesting. But let's look at the Raiders all-time team. And we've been doing this. We started this last week. So we're looking at each team that we're previewing for the week, and we're going to look at their all-time team and give our Mount Rushmore. Calvin, if you had to name the 4 best Raiders in history, the Mount Rushmore of the Oakland, remember they were in Oakland, they were in LA at one point. Of course, they're in Vegas now. Who would you say were the 4 players that define the history of the Raiders franchise? Who you got?
This team's interesting because they got a bunch of players where they had players in which their prime was in another team. Like they had Jerry Rice, they got Rod Woodson, they had Ronnie Lott on their team. You can make the argument they're on their Mount Rushmore for another team.
Yeah.
But Vegas, I got Marcus Allen.
Okay. I think he has to be on anybody's team if you go.
Yeah, we got coaches. Is that what we're doing?
No. I'm making a point.
I got Tim Brown, arguably the best receiver in Raiders history.
I think you had to have Tim Brown if you're gonna have a Raider up there. Tim Brown is definitely
Charles Woodson, who I think had his best years in Oakland.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one was tough because, like I said, you got Rod Woodson, you got Jerry Rice. You could say Jerry Rice's career in Oakland was better than some other careers. It's a lot. I mean, I had to go back and look like Ronnie Lott, but you know who I went with? I ended up going with, and I think it's going to be a sleeper. Howie Long. I think he's their best. I don't think that's no sleeper.
I think he was one of the best
players. The best defensive player that they had. So those are four I got.
Okay, Justin, who's your list? Is it the same as Calvin's, or do you have any deviations?
Shout out to all the older players. I like to keep it, like I said, just based off of what we were talking about last time. I like to keep it somewhat recent. So, the Gene Upshaws and all that, y'all got respect for me.
Definitely.
If you ain't Jim Brown, you're not making some of these lists. Just call it what it is.
That's true. Yeah. Did have a mention about Gene.
Those top three are there. And I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. Bo Jackson is going to be on the list. Put Bo Nose on that list, man.
I thought about it. The man played 3 years.
On there, man. The man made a Hall of Fame career off of like 3 seasons.
Bo was tremendous.
I thought about him like it's hard to do that.
Why is it hard?
He played. How many years did he play?
He played like 3. That was about it. I'm gonna check. Go ahead.
The face of the Raiders. Are you talking about box office?
He played 4 years.
Don't matter. The man is a Raider.
He played 4 years.
Great 4 years.
I honestly, now
1,000-yard season.
You all see, don't matter.
Marcus Allen was there.
He's a 2-team player, man. I mean, 2-sport player, man. You gotta give Bo his credit.
I'm not holding it against Dion. He gonna be on somebody's Mount Rushmore.
So I did this for a reason, because when you think of the Raiders, you think of course, its owner,
John Madden.
You know what I mean? You think of Al Davis. You think of John Madden leading that team from a coaching perspective. Art Shell. You know what I mean? The first black head coach to win a Super Bowl. Art Shell was tremendous. Will always go down infamy as one of the greatest, most infamous figures. You think of Rich Gannon, some of them great years he had in the early 2000s. Remember,
great Super Bowl.
The Tuck Rule. Remember the Tuck Rule? A lot of people forget.
Yeah.
Had it not been for that Tuck Rule, that could have been the beginning of a dynasty for that Raiders team. But again, we remember the Charles Woodson of it all, but Rich Gannon was big time. He was throwing it to Tim Brown and Jerry Rice and those boys.
He was MVP.
Yeah, and look, one of the most accurate passes in the league at the time. But I'm going with Justin. Bo got to look. Bo Jackson got to be on the list, man. Our age, growing up, Bo was a big deal, man. So yeah, I agree 100%.
Bo Jackson, y'all to have certain other players on y'all Mount Rushmore. It only takes 4 years to be on a team Mount Rushmore that has 70 years of history.
Well, that tells you about the state of that team. They were a free agent type team. They didn't have they had loaners. They would get guys for a year, 2 here and there. You didn't have too many big time stalwarts that were there for a long time. So there we go. That's our list as it pertains to the Raiders. Let's move on back to our countdown, and I'll go on and we'll talk about these New England Patriots. So the Patriots, very interesting team when you look at them. More of a rebuilding. They fired their head coach after 1 season, which is interesting all in itself. A black man only gets 1 year to try to prove himself. But clearly they had eyes on Mike Vrabel. Went out and got Mike Vrabel to head this helm, former New England Patriot. So he's coming home to take over the Patriots after 1 year after Bill Belichick left, go coach in college. Drake May, they drafted him last year. A lot of promise taking over the helm last year. Showed us some flashes that he could be really good. And I'll give him credit. They went out and got Stephon Diggs coming off that injury. Didn't show a lot in the Texans last year, but we saw him out on a boat this off season with Cardi B, his girlfriend, and there was a mysterious pink substance, and so that was brought up. So I know the league was looking into that, but at least he'll be the number one option. We know he's familiar with the AFC East as he was in Buffalo for many years, so he's not unfamiliar with playing in cold weather. They did go out and get defensive tackle Milton Williams, and this actually, I think they added 15 players in the offseason. They had the busiest offseason in the entire NFL, trying to overhaul this entire team, had a really good draft class. They built that team on both sides of the ball. Give them all the credit in the world. They did lose their longtime center in David Andrews, which is their biggest offseason loss. But I'm going to be honest with you. If you look at this Patriots team and you don't know a lot of these names, you don't know football, because they went out and actually made some big moves that really upgrade. And I think Mike Vrabel is really what's going to make this team that next level defensive minded squad. When you go out there and you add impact players at every level, you can't help but be better. Now, they in a tough division when you got a Buffalo Bills team at the top. But to be honest with you, the Jets, who really should be scared of the Jets? I don't think you should be scared of the Jets. I think they could easily fight for the second best team in this division. I think they could easily be right there neck and neck in some of these games. Remember, last year they played Buffalo tight in both matchups and should have beat them the second time up there. It was they had a slow plodding offense, really no household names, nothing really to speak of. But again, a lot of their offseason additions I think will prove to be very, very, very beneficial to them. And I got the Patriots having a pretty good season under Mike Vrabel in year one. Calvin, your thoughts?
Look, I think Drake May is their QB of the future and the present. It's only right that you fit him with, additional stars or additional pieces, I should say, on offense. They were linked to Rashad Bateman at one time. They signed Stephon Diggs. So I think only building around him will only help their cause, especially on the offensive line. We'll see what Vrabel does. I think Vrabel's an excellent coach. I think he was excellent in Tennessee. He took a year off. I guess he wanted to go back to New England. That's part of the reason why they got rid of Mayo and he stepped in. They're going to struggle this season just because of the division they're in. You can make the argument that the third best team in the division, talent-wise, but
Miami, I don't know.
Head coach-wise, I think they have the best head coach in the division. I think I'm very high on Vrabel. And Buffalo really needs to come prepared to beat them. You lose 1 or 2 games, and that costs you a 2 or 3 seed, and all of a sudden you're going on the road in that second round, and who knows what happens. So, but I think New England's still up and coming. One more good draft, and I think they'll be back fighting for this division.
What's your thoughts, Justin?
One, I'm going to say this real quick. I see why you added Matt into the last thing. 1. 2, the fact that this, besides Buffalo, 2 through 4, to me, I think it's just they're in a fight. They're in a fight for 2nd through 4th. I don't believe in Miami. I think they're going to take a tremendous drop to what they, 2K. You know what I'm saying? Like they individual talent, they got it. I think this thing is one of those train wrecks. Every year there's a train wreck. It could have been last year for them. I think it's going to repeat this year. So I think they're going to be in a dogfight within the division. So if you can say that, and if I trust Mike and the fact that what he did in Tennessee, he made Tennessee a playoff team down there every year. Yes.
Number 1 seed 1 year?
Do they have slightly issues at some of these other positions? Are you going to go with the Ramondre Stevenson or the other guy that they picked up and things like that? Like, I don't know.
I like Ramondre. He ran hard last 2 years.
No doubt. There's no Derrick Henry, so he can't necessarily lean on one bell cow. So now we're going to see his full coaching potential here. We're going to see if you can uplift these people. And I think he can. I really do. So I agree with you. I think they're going to be battling for 2nd in the division. Still outside the playoffs, but I think they're definitely battling for 2nd in the division for sure.
Yeah. Again, I like what they did. Some of their moves, especially in the secondary, be interesting. So let's take a look at the all-time Patriots list. Now, when I was putting my list together, this is very interesting. I know Justin, you kind of alluded to it, but look, I'm sorry. If you don't have a non-football player on this list, you lying to yourself, because it's a lot of white boys that represents the New England Patriots. If you really look throughout history, it's hard to find a brother, but I'm going to come up with one. Of course, number one on my list will be Tom Brady. He is the ultimate Patriot, the greatest probably football player, stat-wise in NFL history. He has to go. What is 7 Super Bowl titles, 5 with the am I right? Six with the Patriots.
With
Lord.
them, yes.
Lord, man, good grief. 6 titles, unprecedented, one of the greatest winners of all time. And to go along right with him, I think is the greatest coach that ever has played. That's right. I'm putting a coach on my list. You can agree, you can disagree. I don't give a damn. But they go hand in hand, in my opinion. Now, when he went down to Tampa, Tom Brady proved that he could win on his own. So I'm not discrediting that. But if you go look at those first few titles in New England, they don't win that without those Belichick defenses. And a great representative of those defenses was Teddy Bruschi, man. You can't talk about the New England Patriots without talking about Teddy Bruschi. And he was the leader of that defense for many years. And I think he is the definition of
is that the black guy is that the black representation that you're talking about?
Teddy ain't black. But Bruschi represents the defense as a whole. I had to pick one guy. I was thinking about Vince Wilfork. I was thinking about, who could be that guy that could represent. And Gene Sayal, he wasn't there long enough, and he's more of a Charger. But I was like, Teddy Bruschi, he's the definition of what it meant to be a New England Patriot on defense. And then, of course, my fourth guy will be Rob Gronkowski, who's probably arguably one of the top 5 tight ends in NFL history. Some say 1, 2, maybe 3. But he's up there. So that's my list. I got Brady, Belichick, Bruschi, and Gronkowski as my 4. Next up is Calvin. Who you got? Any changes from this list?
I got one change. I got 3 of your 4. I got Brady, I got Belichick, and I got Gronkowski. I didn't think he was going to go with Gronk. I thought I was going to be the only one out there with Gronk. But my 4th person, I ain't got Bruschi on there. I got Adam Vinatieri.
Yeah.
The greatest kicker that probably won them their first 3 Super Bowls and at least got them to there. I'm giving it to Vinatieri. He needs to be up there for what he did early in his career. So that's the only change I got. I ain't got Bruschi up there.
I thought about it, but I had to have a defensive representative. The defense was just very important, man. They be paying year after year, man.
That's Belichick. That's Belichick.
You're right. I had him on the list because I was thinking about Vinatieri. Justin, any deviations from what we got?
I paused because I was like, yo, that's tough. And I see Adam. I see Teddy. I'm going to keep those same other 3. Yes, Bill Belichick belongs on this list.
Yeah.
Tom Brady belongs on the list. I think Rob is also on the list. I'm not taking Teddy. I'm not taking Adam. And I'm going to be the one to add the brother. A Patriot through and through. Troy Brown. Troy Brown. Troy Brown.
Well, much like the black ball on the screen, I don't have a picture of Troy Brown. So, but we have some black representatives.
Hey, I know you got like Vince Wilfork and Richard Seymour. Just put them in this place.
I did have some. Damn, I didn't even go that far. Look who I got. Look who y'all think that is.
I thought that was Steve Smith. Who was that?
You know who that is. Terry Glenn.
No, I wouldn't thought
it was the original Patriot brother.
All right. It wasn't no way I was thinking Terry Glenn.
But anyway, go ahead. Give me a reason why Troy Brown belongs on the Mount Rushmore.
I mean, like I said, the fact that if he played offense, he played defense, he played special teams. He was wherever Bill wanted him, that's where he was at. So all in all, I think if Tom Brady is like the reason why the Patriot way stayed and other players fell in line, Troy Brown was the example of what a Patriot way is. That's all.
Okay. My other option was Julian Edelman. He was phenomenal. I was thinking Wes Welcome. I'm like, he wasn't there as long. Julian was there for 11 years, huh?
If I wasn't going for Troy, I was really thinking about Tyler Law too. I really think Tyler Law.
I thought about that. I thought about that,
but he wasn't there long enough. He got traded.
I thought that was Lloyd Malloy that got traded.
They both.
Tyler Law he went to Kansas City, didn't he?
But I thought Tyler Law was there for the first 3 rings. That's what I'm saying.
He was. He was there for the first 3.
Okay.
He was. That's a good representative as well. But yeah, I think my list is tight. I'm good with mine. But I could replace. I think Calvin's yours is probably what most people will go with because of Vinatieri. He was like, especially that tuck rule game when he made that kick in the snow.
You stupid.
Damn.
So you add extra syllable in there.
What's his name again?
Vinatieri. What is it? Vinatieri.
Vinatieri.
You know how you say. Whatever, damn it.
Vinatieri.
Do our final preview, Justin.
All right, here we go. Jacksonville Jaguars. Starting quarterback Trevor Lawrence. He got hurt last year, right? So once again, we gotta give him another year of an excuse of why he wasn't what he's supposed to be, right? So here's that year. You got it. You're healthy now. Let's see where you're at. Biggest all-season loss. I'll put the head coach. I guess this is a head coach type of a vibe today. And I think Doug Peterson was supposed to be in there he was brought in to change everything. Going from Urban Meyer to this, like he was supposed to put Trevor on that right path, just like he did in Philadelphia. And he won in Philadelphia. So they said, well, if you did it there, you should be able to do it here. It was all on you. And he failed. He did not do a great job at all. The team fell out. And here we are. Also, they lost Evan Ingram as a tight end. And for their defense, Andre Cisco was pretty important for them. So the fact that they lost all that, and they didn't necessarily replace a lot of guys. They brought in people, but we got to see how they actually are. With that being said, the key one was I'm gonna throw some love to Liam Cohen. Why? Because he made Baker Mayfield. Now, it's not a homer, but he made Baker Mayfield legitimately, statistically a top 5 quarterback. That's what he did with that offense. He understood that we got a budding rookie in Bucky, and he featured him as a running back over Rashard White and things like that. Even with the 2 wide receivers was down, we lost a couple games, but the offense kept rolling. That was a very, very good offense for what we had, and he has weapons in Jacksonville, and I was assuming that he's going to do similar there. He might make Jacksonville a respectable offense. So I'm going to give some love to Liam Cohen for that. And then they got Travis Hunter as well. Now, can he do it all with that? That remains to be seen. That can only be told in preseason football and then once the regular season starts. However, his wide receiver routes are getting better by the day. His cornerbacking skills are getting better by the day. When you look at footage when he first got the cap to the most recent footage, I'm like, yo, there's a change in him. Like whatever the slight, like in college, he was an athlete. Now he's honing in on the skill levels of how to get in and out your breaks and things like that, both offense and defense. So Travis Hunter to be paired up, and as I say, it leads us to what to watch for. Travis, can he be an impact play on both sides of the field? You got BTJ, right? Brian Thomas Jr. He already clarified himself like, I'm that dude. Now you add a athlete like Travis Hunter with him, and then you have Tank Bigsby. Okay, you have Travis Etienne. Okay, Trevor Lawrence. You're getting paid. I just need you to be above average with these weapons that you're now having. Brian Thomas said, I don't care who my quarterback is. Throw me the ball. I'm that dude. Right? He proved that. Right? That's what he's doing right now, and he did that in his rookie year. Now you have him on one side, and then they probably put Travis pretty much from second to slot. He'll probably go bounce back and forth, second to slot to not even necessarily playing. But those are where Travis is going to be. He'd probably be best in the slot, so he doesn't have to necessarily deal with the physical presence of the coverage, because he's not the biggest pause dude out there. So with that being said, you play him in the slot, he can use the speed that helps him out. It's a plus. It's a plus for Jacksonville. Travon Walker, brother, he was number one pick. I need you to do it. I need you to show it. I need you to show it without a shadow of a doubt. 10 sacks is good. I need 15. I need you to take the game to the next level. If you can do that, along with Josh Allen, if y'all can hold down that front line and make it things a little bit easier on the back half, that was a decent defense, right? They're trying to get better. That makes them a whole different monster. That makes it easier for everybody else. It starts with y'all too. Y'all the ones that getting one. You was a rookie, number one pick. Now the other one's making the most money on the defense. Make it happen. Now, last problem. The offensive line, it is struggle. It is a struggle formation. It's not the best thing for the offensive line. It is not the best. And the running game suffers because of that. Is it the players? They don't have the best vision. I was watching some of these highlights from them. Oh, Lord. Some of them was lowlights. Some of them was like, clearly you choosing the wrong decisions to make. But that could be because they shell-shot because of the offensive line trash. Now, if they can get that straight, if they can get that going, and Trevor Lawrence can stay upright, and Travis can move a little bit himself. Trevor can move a little bit himself. Then they are going to be that much better. Now the division, they ain't gonna be last. I'll say that. I'll leave it at that. They ain't gonna be last. Jacksonville Jaguars, 2025.
Oh, interesting.
They won't be last.
They won't be last. What if we summed it up?
Who will be last?
I got the Colts being last right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got Cam Ward being better. I don't trust either quarterback for the Colts right now.
Who's the other quarterback? Oh,
Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson. I don't trust neither one of them.
Yeah, interesting. I still think that we need to see if they can stay healthy. A lot of their issues last year were attributed to health issues, not just at the quarterback position, but you had issues at the running back room. You had issues with wide receiver. Who are the wide receivers? Like, we know them, but are they going to be on the field? And a lot of the issues is now they had a breakout at wide receiver last year. Now, don't get me wrong, but Christian Kirk no longer there. You a lot of turnover going on with that wide receiver room. But on the defensive side, Tyson Campbell always hurt last year. Probably that number one corner. We'll see. They went out and got a Jordan Lewis, put him with him, pairing with him. Jordan Lewis was good in Dallas here and there, but small, undersized. Calvin, you know all too well about Jordan Lewis. Do you think that he can go in there and actually, be an impact player for the Jaguars?
I think we're just waiting and seeing. I'm still hung up on them trading all their assets to go get Travis Hunter. You're a bad season away from giving away number one draft pick just in everything that you paid to go up to get Travis Hunter. And I don't know if he makes a difference.
Is he going to be the third corner, second corner? What they put him at?
They say he's going to play on both sides of the ball. I'm not sure if he's going to be that slot receiver playing the slot, but especially down there in that heat, can you expect him to play 120 snaps a game on both sides? Is he your second best receiver? I mean,
he played in best cornerback. He played in Jacksonville.
He's your best cornerback.
He is. That remains.
He's bigger than Jordan Lewis. But Ty Campbell was that number one corner.
So I say second, third. He should really play third for both.
I think he should play defense. I don't think he should touch.
No, he needs to play offense.
He needs gadgets here and there.
He got to play offense.
Very, very. Well, you drafted him that high to play both, so he's going to play. I'm just saying, as far as I think he'll have his most impact early on defense and find his way. I think
it'd be offense.
Really?
The boy is an athlete. He's
no disrespect. I know that, but I'm just saying, I think they can use him more regularly defensively.
I think they're going to be down. They're going to be in a position where they need to pass, and therefore he'll be on the field more. And I think that's how it goes.
And like I said, the most important thing, real quick, and I'll sum up is this. And I started it with it. Trevor Lawrence, bro, you got to be that guy.
Be healthy.
Yeah, you getting paid like it.
You got to be that
paid like it.
Yeah, you're getting paid like it.
Yeah.
All time. Let's go.
Yeah. So, what's your all-time? If you looked at the history, because look, this team has some players over the years. I remember when they was in our division, You could sum it up.
AFC Central.
Yeah. What's your thoughts? Who's your team?
Fred Taylor.
Yeah. Fred got to be up there.
That's an easy
number one Jag of all time, in my opinion. Tony Pacelli. Yeah. Now, how would you rank Tony Pacelli all time?
For the Jags overall?
For the Jags, yeah. Is he first on your Mount Rushmore for them? Or you put Fred before him?
I'll probably put it from a cornerstone piece. A left, it's just it's not a sexy position.
Yeah.
He should be number one.
Yeah,
like he was that dude.
Next.
Mark Brunell. No, I'm sorry. Not Mark.
This is in order.
Jimmy.
Okay.
Going Jimmy. Look, Jimmy was great.
Jimmy was a monster.
He hurt us a lot in Baltimore.
And last, certainly not least, and this is where I know I'm gonna leave y'all on this. But my guy, the person that I liked in Jacksonville, Maurice Jones. Put him on.
I don't think that's a stretch.
It's not.
Oh, okay.
I don't think that's a stretch at all. Cal, it's me. I honestly, I don't see any big deviations from this list. I actually had the same 4, but I'll let Calvin go next. What's your thoughts?
No, I got the same 4 as well. I was debating between Brunell and MJD, but my only thought was, MJD got them as far as Mark Brunell took them. And I think, Mark Brunell had Keenan McCardle and Jimmy Smith back then. They had the high flying offense. So I think MJD. I think MJD did more with less. I put MJD up there, personally.
Yeah. But just some honorable mentions. Of course, we talked about Jalen Ramsey earlier. This is where he really was. That he put that defense on the map. Remember, they beat Pittsburgh in a playoff game. And it was his defensive prowess. Remember, they pulled up with the money truck, the Brinks truck.
They should have beat
They should have beat the Patriots. Yeah, they should have. You got, of course, Byron Leftwich was there for years, holding down the fort. Slowest black quarterback in the history of the game, but he did the best he could.
Brian, that was my guy.
Yeah. Calais Campbell was a great defensive tackle there for years. And of course, current day, you got Trevor Lawrence, supposed to be the face of the franchise. I just put him on here for shits and giggles, but he's not.
He ain't better than David Garrard yet.
No, not living up to David Garrard either. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, I think that sums it up. That's the list. That's the list.
They got a 30-year history, something like that. That's about it.
Yeah, 3 reviews on one team. That's crazy.
All right, before we get out of here, I know we're right up on the 3:00 hour, and Justin, I know you got a rule, but we do have to touch on this. John Jones is retired, folks. John Jones, it was announced by Dana White that he's no longer in the game. We know that he was in talks to coming back to defend that world heavyweight title that he's never defended against Tom Aspinall. They were in negotiating. I think maybe he had one defense, but they had one. They had negotiations that never ended. Then apparently Jones had agreed and then backed out, and it was all about the money and yickety. And then all of a sudden, he's now been stripped of the world title. Tom Aspinall, who was the interim champion, is now the official champion, and John Jones is retired. Do we think this sticks? Does Jones return soon? Calvin, I'll start with you.
I don't think so, because I don't think it was ever about the money. Because I think they threw whatever amount that he wanted to, because they know everyone wanted to see this matchup. So I don't think it was ever about the money. I think whatever number he said, they said yes, and that's kind of what threw him off, because he asked for some number that he didn't think they would match. I don't know if I don't want to say he didn't think he could beat him. I don't think he could beat him at this point in his career. At his peak, I think he's like, I'm not worried about anybody. Maybe at this point, it's a little question, and he doesn't want to go out like that. But I don't think it was a money issue. I think whatever amount that he wanted, they said yes, because everyone wanted to see this fight, even though it's John Jones in his career. So I think this sticks. I think if he comes back and he loses, it's even worse. But I think if you come back at whatever point, you're coming back older than what you would have if you fought him, in 2 months or in 3 months. So yeah, I think this sticks.
Justin, you think John Jones is done?
What do we mean by, like? And I say that to say,
Will he fight again in the UFC?
No.
Will he fight
only
again?
one fight for him. Will he fight again? Yes. I agree with that.
He's gonna still get some kind of pay that he'll probably go overseas to the Saudis and things like that. Get paid money to whoop somebody ass that we don't know. And as long as illegal substances are still a thing, he's going to still need money for that. So at the end of the day, he's going to still fight. Maybe
price of the brick went up.
Well, the problem with that is his rights is still tied into a UFC contract, so he can't just go fight.
So Dana White then will have to let him out, or does he have to have like 2 more fights or something like that? Like which way
is one of those things where you sign for a particular amount of fights, and if you don't fulfill that, you can retire all you want. But if you come back, you got to fight for me. Same thing happened with Brock Lesnar. Same thing happened with many other players. This was back when other organizations were throwing crazy money around.
I know that he coming back for UFC.
Exactly. Like
you think so?
I think he'll come back. Like, come on, he's still young enough.
I don't think it's the money though. That's the problem. I think
it's the money.
Okay, so let's say let's say you're right. Let's say that it's about the person that he's fighting. Okay, you hold off long enough. That person fights somebody else. You come back to Dana saying like, "Yo, I'm still John Jones." UFC, and we all follow because we follow wrestling and we follow TFC or whatever the case may be. Clearly, UFC is not holding up the end of the bargain. So he can name who he wants to fight. It could be somebody that's on a lower level.
I don't think he can't. But I think if that's when you look at him differently. If he comes back and fights someone else, I think that's when you look at him differently. Now you can say, hey, he's older. Even if he doesn't think maybe he wouldn't win, he doesn't want to tarnish his reputation, which he's earned that right, I think. But I think that's why I don't think it's the money. I think it's the fact that he has questions whether or not he can actually beat him without being.
Oh, so you think he a coward? You think he's running?
No. I'm not saying that. I think you get to a point where you earn the right to say, I fight who I want to fight when I want to fight him. If I don't want to fight you, I can make whatever excuse I want to, because we've seen him take on anyone. So I don't think it's that. Because in my opinion, if he fought him and he lost, does that make you look at John Jones differently?
Yes.
And I think that's the problem. He doesn't want that to happen.
I'm telling you, it's about the money, because a lot of these guys have been frustrated because of Logan Paul and his brother getting paid all his money from Netflix. Jake Paul, to get paid all his money from Netflix to have a fight, and all they got to do is walk in there and fight once, and they making more money than John Jones probably has made in 5 years in the UFC. But UFC is not paying like these boxers getting paid. They want to force the UFC to pay them.
You don't think that everyone wants this fight, and John Jones can say, "I won $20 million." They say, "Okay."
No, they're not going to do it. TKO is not going above a certain money.
So you think it's a TKO thing? It's not a Dana White thing.
Dana White works with TKO.
But my point being, you think if there was no TKO, Dana White would say yes?
No, because Dana White is TKO. He thinks like that. They believe.
I don't think it's a money thing.
They believe in keeping the money down, and I'm telling you, they think UFC is the draw. They think that any fighter we put in there, it doesn't matter. John Jones is not bigger than the sport, and in a way, they've been proven right. A lot of people thought when Conor McGregor went away, the sport was going to be diminished. They sell out every show. Pay-per-view still selling. They right now, Donald Trump is putting a battery in their back, making them feel like they're invincible. Talking about having a UFC fight on the lawn of the White House. Like they are snubbing their nose at these fighters. Like, bruh, John Jones, you're not bigger than the sport. We're going to pay you what we want to pay you, and you're going to be happy with it. And that's why a lot of these guys look. Remember, what's his name? You remember the guy, the big black guy was knocking people out. Oh man,
Francis.
Ngannou. I forgot his name for a second. He left the UFC and thought he could go do out there, be a boxer, do what they wanted. Now he's trying to get back in because the money not the same, the fame not the same. You need that UFC power behind your back if you're going to fight in the MMA world. You're not a world-class athlete. You can go out there and fight anybody in boxing and just draw big numbers. Unfortunately, Jones going to come back. They all come back. It is what it is. I hate to say it. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for sports. But I just wanted to touch on one topic before we get out of here, and that's the verdict that came out this past week. Sean Combs was found not guilty on 3 of the 5 counts, but guilty on transportation to engage in prostitution, transportation to engage in prostitution on 2 counts, count 3 and count 5, but he was not found guilty on the racketeering, sex trafficking, and those fraud and coercion counts that were against him as well. He's awaiting sentences in October. Justin, I'll start with you. What was your thoughts on this verdict when it came down? You're trying to be careful.
No doubt. So I think that they had let's look. His lawyer is amazing. Same dude that got Young Thug out, right? It's the same guy. Like, so clearly
it was a woman.
It was a white guy.
Oh, okay.
I just seen. I seen like a lot of different like memes and stuff like that. So, okay, shout out to him. If you pay him, he'd probably get you out. 2, so yeah, he basically got convicted of buying somebody an Uber so they can come through, do some things and then go back home. Basically what he got is going to jail for.
Transportation to a
So if you fit this category, whoever's listening, you probably should
watch out. Watch out.
With all that being said,
none of this is funny. None of us are laughing at the situation.
To the victims that are truly victims, just make your peace with your religious God, because that's the only person that's going to look out for you right here, right now. The justice system was not on your side. So if you are truly a victim, I feel sorry for you. Hopefully you can make peace with that. And know that Sean will have his day. But at the end of all days, they tried. It didn't work. He's going to be out soon, and he will have his tell-all books. He will look all his business out. So what does he have left to hide? He's going to make money off of this. He's going to have a soundtrack off of this, and depending on how bumping it is, people going to rock with it. People might not rock with it, and that's just where we're at. And we have to understand that he's going to be in our face for the foreseeable future. And look, you can't say anything bad about him, because everyone already said everything bad about him. At some point, you can't get any worse. So it is what it is. He can only move forward from this. And it's just wild. But hey, look, when you open yourself up to subjective acts, then things can happen. So just keep that in mind. Just try to stay as humble as you can, and you will avoid certain things. But when your greed and your appetite is at a high level of either yourself or pleasing somebody else, let it be a boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever the case may be, you have to have your own morale standards, and those should never be questioned. And once you start questioning your own morality, then things can happen as a result of it, and some things you can't take back. So do your best to avoid golden showers. You're welcome.
Calvin?
I don't know, as this case went on, if you were really surprised at the outcome. I think there are individuals who engage in similar acts, allegedly, I guess I need to throw that word out there, that are more powerful, if that's the case, that may have assisted in the verdict as the outcome as it came through, because they don't want their business out there as well. You can pick and choose who you think those people are. I for everything just to come out there, you risking your sanity, your mental health, to go out here and try to tell your story and then only be believed to a certain aspect, has to be frustrating, has to be hurtful, and has to make you question maybe even question what was the point of this, because you feel as though no one believed you. And that's difficult, that has to be difficult as well. This verdict seems to come straight out of a Boondocks episode. I don't even know if that's true. The people just outside throwing baby oil on themselves. I hope that wasn't true. I hope that video wasn't true. It was
video.
I heard that, yeah, but I don't. The longer when the feds get involved, in most cases, you think that there is concrete evidence of something illegal transpiring. Then you hear the word RICO being thrown out, and then when it ends up coming out, it's like this is what you had at the end. And I'm not saying that they didn't have enough. It just seemed though I just thought that there would have been more that would come out in displaying what occurred. And if that wasn't the case, we have to question what was the point of not pursuing these state or locally versus federally. Is my point. I think you could have gotten a different verdict state-wise versus federally if this was the only evidence you were able to bring out over the course of the last 3 or 4 weeks. You want to say something about that? Oh, okay. I thought you had something to add.
I just trying to understand the counts, right? How can you be not guilty? How can you be guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution? Right. So that means that the person knowingly was a prostitute, and you aided in getting them where they needed to go to perform such acts, but not guilty of trafficking these people by force, fraud, or coercion.
But trafficking just means across state lines, correct?
I think that's what.
So if I hire you and we're in the same state, it's okay. But if I bring you from New York for Florida, it's different.
The counts just were shaky to me. That's what I'm saying. It's like you, to your point about if you would have just did it on a state level, would this not have been the case at all? Or was the whole key that you moved from Las Vegas to
the RICO
LA
thing was basically saying that you used your money to do these things, but you weren't able to prove it. But if I paid you and this is how I make my money, doesn't that mean that? I'm just listening to what people saying and doing my own research.
People are having the parties, and he was providing the entertainment at the parties. I think there are multiple other people who are engaged in these same activities. If we want to be honest. I think there was a whole mansion.
Sure.
A whole mansion that has been
there are a couple names that immediately come up that
with a P and a B on it, Playboy. That people have talked about having stories of escapades there for many years. So again, the whole thing I think was.
But see, I thought not to say that is right or wrong. I thought the laws in Vegas or the outskirts of Vegas are different. Hence why you have brothels in Vegas. And there's no problem.
That's true. It is legal. It depends on the state, I guess.
So I guess that they got him in the wrong state on certain things.
I think there are things in Vegas that are legal that aren't legal anywhere else. Like I said, you have they had the Bunny Ranch. I don't know if that's still open, but technically you're paying for it. That's prostitution, right? But it's not it's not illegal in that portion of. I don't think it's in Vegas technically. I think
it was in Nevada, but the Playboy Mansion is in LA. Like that ain't in Vegas. Like what are we doing? Like a lot of what Diddy was doing.
What's the difference between prostitution and being an actress?
A porn star,
a porn actress. Yes,
I was going to say, is it a complaint?
Yeah, exactly. Was Cassie?
I'm being serious. I'm like, is that the difference?
Again,
don't know.
I don't know how educated the jurors were.
You said the jurors were laughing. And I don't know how true that was. They were laughing as they left. See it.
All you read is reports of what people said inside the court. But anyway, he got off on certain counts that we kind of thought were going to be tricky to prove regardless. But again, the man he beat the girl. At the end of the day, we saw that.
You couldn't even get
We saw that. Like he paid off.
Domestic violence happens a lot.
It happened. He's not a good guy. Hopefully, I'm not wishing death on anybody, but he'll meet his maker and he'll pay for what he needs to pay for. That's all I got to say on the matter. Any other comments before we get out of here? Interesting stuff, man. Crazy times we're in, And the celebrities coming out and cheering about the verdict, and I get he has long-term friends in the business and stuff like that. If I was people, just shut up. Just shut up. Move on. If you want to text them personally, fine. But stop going on social media and celebrating about this. You're not helping yourself.
You know what that is. Like you gotta be public in your support, or you didn't support.
Did you see what Tiny said? Tiny?
Well, Tiny and T.I. got some allegations.
They on their own stuff. Yeah.
They kind of went under the table when that LOL doll situation.
Yeah, and I think theirs got settled too. Like I think the charges got dropped or something along those lines. They're not seeing necessarily doing that, but at the end of the day, like you said, like there's a lot there's an underbelly to what we see as the regular person, and we just listening to the radio, right? There's an underbelly to what's going on, in which we have no idea about unless you're in it, and I think a lot of those people still want to do and engage in those certain activities and things like that. And if Diddy got off, then guess what? He knows how to. So why would I not link up with him if I want to continue to do certain things myself?
So bro, we all were, and Morgan, we all heard about parties and people doing things, and rap music has talked about that type of party vibe culture forever. Like, this is not like news, you know what I mean? But like I say, had Cassie never come out, had he kept paying her or paid off what she wanted, I don't think this is a story. You know what I mean?
Well, it's twofold. It's twofold because they talk about did he not come out against those liquor investors that he was, then none of this would have been a story.
That's true.
Yeah.
He was already getting past the Cassie thing. That was
The video came out.
Paid for the video.
The video came out after the whole situation with was it Deleon, I believe, in the company. Yeah,
and then everything else started to fall out. So there was a reason for that, and they couldn't get him.
This is crazy, man. But we'll see. His bail was denied. He'll be in there for a while. But how long y'all think he'll do? Honestly.
When I was reading, it said he getting time served. So
served.
If he gets a year, it'll be time served, and the rest will be on probation.
Could he rehab his career? Be honest. And what does that even mean?
What does that mean, rehab?
Yeah, what does that mean? Like, is Diddy back on our screens? Is he back in business? Is he back in pop culture? Is he back? What? Or does he turn into Bill Cosby?
He'll take a little bit of time, maybe a year.
Bill Cosby was older though.
And then on top of that, look, you mentioned Hugh Hefner, right? And he was still that dude, and everybody knows what he was doing, right? Everybody knows. So in Hollywood, you just like everybody else. It's just that everybody knows your business. He's still gonna be that dude. He's still a multi-millionaire. Ain't nothing changed. They ain't gonna do too many kid videos and stuff like that. Like they'll separate that. He'll probably do a little gospel joint. You know what I'm saying? He'll get up with he'll get up with
TD Jakes. I was gonna say that.
Yeah, TD Jakes. Oh yeah. Pause. You know what he says. Followed. Pause. You know what I'm saying? Like he gonna get up with TD Jakes. Probably a little Kurt Franklin joint. Yo, Diddy and Kurt Franklin's gonna be a crazy record. I'm just telling you now. It's coming out. So
on that note, it's time to end this. We thank you all for tuning in for a special holiday edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. Again, we're going to be back on Tuesday of next week. So a little quicker turnaround. This week we'll be back. We appreciate you all being patient with us and, following us whatever day we do drop. But I'm letting you know in advance. We will be back on Tuesday, which was our original night before. But and we'll go on to our next 3 NFL teams as we continue our countdown. And we didn't talk any wrestling this week, but we're gonna preview. We got WWE Saturday night main event next weekend. We got WWE Evolution pay-per-view for all women's pay-per-view on Sunday. AEW's having their biggest show of the year, and I want to drop some AEW stuff. We're gonna talk a little AEW. get you ready for that. It's a huge weekend for wrestling next week, so we'll talk about that. Free agency will officially be kicked off this weekend, so we'll know if any other moves goes there. Traditionally, July 4th used to be a big day for a big move would happen or trade or something.
KD signed on July 4th.
KD signed with the Golden State. But so we'll see. We'll see if anything comes out next week. And we'll keep our eye on any NFL news as well. And we haven't talked Orioles. They've been on a little bit of an up and down here. So we'll give you an update on that as well. So,
and whatchamacallit is next week too. All-Star game.
Oh wow, yeah. Is that Monday?
A week from Monday.
Okay, a week from Monday. So we'll talk about that. I know that one of the Orioles was named alternate.
O'Hearn's a starter.
DH.
Yeah, starter.
Yeah, starting DH.
Yeah,
and we'll figure out if Jackson is on, I think, Sunday, the coaches vote, so we'll know by Tuesday if he's an all-star.
And I just looked up. So we got the Jets, the Saints, and the Bears. We will let y'all know which one will have who.
No.
I think some of y'all already know who I'm going to go with.
Jets. You taking
it. Definitely getting the Jets.
You taking
Understood.
I'm taking Chicago. I got Chicago.
I got the Saints. I already got a betting on them for them to be the get number one pick next year. So I'm investing Saints right now.
Y'all know I love me some Chicago Bears, man. I was on that train last year, so we'll talk about them next week. All right, folks. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you right here next week for another edition of Get Off the Damn Fence. For Calvin, Justin, I'm Larry. Good night.